Here's the first problem. That's the wrong instruction.
Oh, no.
Florida Supreme Court revised 3.7 earlier this year. That is not the appropriate definition.
I've got two other issues.
No!
They've been waiting for an hour and 20 minutes, Counselor.
Bring them in!
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911.
Yes.
You have significant experience with zippers?
I use zippers regularly, yes.
What a question.
Enough to have an opinion as to whether or not a zipper is stuck or not.
Can you open the inside of it?
And it almost sounded like it was coming towards me, but like on the side of me, you know? Then it was just like a loud rumbling noise, like that literally sounded like it was kind of far away from me, and then it like ended up like almost next to me.
I saw her asleep on the back patio.
There was an instance where you were going to teach him a lesson.
We had opening statements today. We are finally here. Sarah Boone's trial is finally on. It's happening. We had witnesses that testified today. Now, before we had the trial starting, remember the court had to deal with the Richardson hearing, whether or not the defense committed a discovery violation. Yesterday morning, the state got about 119 JPEG images, and Mr. J, poor Mr. J up there, was like, I had to take those JPEG images, reorient them because they were all over the place. And then I looked at it and I was like, something is up. Something is wrong about these because they sent these records over back in September. However, these look different. Why is it different? Mr. Owens went up there, he explained, and here's what the judge said. Well, actually, no, we'll include Mr. Owen for you guys. We gotta include Mr. Owen in there.
Yesterday, the court had reserved on a Richardson hearing regarding Exhibit 2 as identified in the defendant's 5th amended reciprocal discovery exhibit list, specifically 119 pages of records from Advent Health Winter Park that were provided to the state yesterday morning by way of USB drive. Yesterday, the court had ordered that the defense was to provide an edited version of only the records pertaining to anxiety and the lack thereof, or anything pertaining to those matters, but before 9 a.m. this morning. Was that done, Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. J, have you the opportunity to review the culled down list of 119 documents?
Yes, sir. I don't understand the relevance of those 2 pages. Pages 21, and then they skip 22. 23, 24, and 25 are all part of her initial assessment on 123.18. We don't object to those pages, but for, and I apologize that there's a but for, the fact that at the bottom of page 25 begins her toxicology screening, and that does go into page 26, and they did not indicate that they want to use page 26. However, without page 26, we are going to experience relevancy issues and a 403 objection from the state, and that is because in her toxicology screen, for which she is coming to the treatment to seek treatment for depression symptoms, she is at 165 for ethanol, meaning when converted, it's 0.165 grams per deciliter, over twice the legal limit. It's a central nervous system depressant. We are going to have at least one medical doctor, well, 2, the forensic
State is like, how many times do I have to do the defense's job? How many times?
pathologist will testify for the state, and then our expert on battered spouse syndrome, if we get to that point, is also a medical doctor. She's a psychiatrist, not a psychologist. Will tell us that ethanol is a central nervous system depressant. I believe even the psychologist will be able to get that information in. So we are objecting to pages 21 through 25 coming in without page 26.
If I understand your argument, is it a rule of completeness issue?
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that it applies to documents as opposed to statements. I mean, it is an out-of-court statement, so it is a rule of completeness issue, particularly when the symptoms and the complaints of the patient on that particular day were crying and being depressed and showing signs of using a central nervous system depressant. We do not object, nor do we object to pages 45, 46, or 47.
What are pages 45, 46, and 47, just for my own?
More of this initial assessment of January 23rd, 2018 was my understanding.
Okay.
Page 48, we are asking again that this be included. Again, I don't believe it's super mysterious why we are going from pages 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, and then skipping page 48, and then going to 49. But we do want page 48 included. On that page includes her height and weight at the time. Page 63.
What's 49? So seemingly that's included.
49 is just some results. Again, it's misleading and doesn't provide full context without what I've described as page 26, because part of the results on page 49 show that she was tested. Shows that she was tested for the presence of ethyl alcohol or ethanol, but it doesn't give the results.
Are the results contained in another page?
Just on page 26, the one I previously described as wanting included.
So not following 49 to 50 or 51 sequentially?
No, because the pages they want from the 40s are 43 through 47, skipping 48, and we're asking for 48 to be included between 47 and 49 to make sure it's relevant and complete.
But they are also seeking 49, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
They just skipped 48, just like they skipped 26.
Okay.
Always throwing them jabs.
Page 63.
The court still is required to conduct a Richardson hearing. As to the issue of whether the defendant's violation was inadvertent or willful, Mr. Owens had advised that these documents were obtained sometime last week. He was unable to provide any specificity. He's going to confer with his office. Mr. Owens or Mr. Beck, are you in a position to advise when these documents were first requested, when they were received?
What the hell is this over here? What is this nonsense?
And when they were sent to the state, specifically any documents pertaining to Exhibit 2, the Advent Health Winter Park records.
Judge, I did check with my secretary, Margaret, and my understanding is I didn't know that was going to be a question about when we actually sent it out. I know it was one of my trips down here. I got Sarah Boone to sign a medical release. We sent it to the hospital. It took a couple of weeks, I want to say. We got it last week. We don't know exactly when. We don't timestamp at our office when something is mailed in, and it was mailed in from the hospital to my office. For whatever reason, the records did not get to Shelby, who was handling that issue, until...
Oh, you guys think that's a suitcase? Oh, he's probably using it for his opening statement. Oh, that would make sense. I know. What's in the box?
late, and I think it was yesterday or the day before, that she was aware that they had not been disclosed. We provided the copy to the state at that time.
So did these records come in batches? Because my understanding, based on the state's representation and their objections, was that the first 81 pages came on September 27th. Mm-hmm. Those were provided.
Those were separate. Those were records that some of the other lawyers, one of the other lawyers had received, and we sent them on, but the problem was they had notes on them. So we sent that 81, but it wasn't directly from the hospital, so we were trying to get a more complete, unedited copy of the records. That's why we made our request.
Okay, and when was the error identified in time as to when these items were not?
That's true. I've heard the name Margaret coming out of his mouth quite a few times already. Margaret's like, oh my God, this guy threw me under the bus.
Not sent, such that they were provided via USB yesterday.
Whatever date we gave them is when we realized there was an error, that same day.
Okay, my understanding that would have been yesterday morning.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, sir? I appreciate y'all working together on that. So here's what we're going to do.
If I may.
Yes.
We had told the state that we would bring in a printed copy, not the PDF, this morning. But Federal Express, which is the block away, for whatever reason, the road was being constructed. So they closed. So we were there at 8 o'clock to get the copy to the state we had promised. But we will bring one at lunch to hand to state.
Okay, appreciate it. All right. Any other argument with regard to the Richardson issue? Anything further, Mr. Beck? Okay. With regard to, let me conclude the Richardson analysis first. All right. Thank you both for your positions and your arguments. The court has, as a matter of law, the court needs to determine whether the defendant's violation was inadvertent or willful. Court finds that based on the positions provided by the defense that the disclosure was inadvertent, but I do find that the violation had some level of substantiality to it. But due to the state's review and the defense compliance with the court's order yesterday as to culling down to the pages that we've identified, the court finds that the violation had a limited ability on the state's ability to prepare for trial due to the lack of objections to the majority of the documents, with the exception of page 48 and 26, which are sought to be included. For those reasons, I find that the prejudicial effect of the substantial disclosure is limited, and I'm not going to order the defense, not going to prohibit the defense from proceeding forward on moving these items into evidence.
Okay, all right, so things are good. The defense, they were to fix their error, and it wasn't a huge enough deal, so we're moving on from that. However, the state, before we start our opening statements, they had issues with demonstrative aids that Mr. James Owens was going to introduce in his opening statements. There were parts of the jury instructions that he wanted to have on the poster board. There were pictures that were from Sarah Boone's phones, I think her injuries and things like that. There was a... I feel bad for Mr. Owens when I'm watching this back, because the judge, you know how like you're doing a project and then you realize you kind of fucked up and you're like, shit, I'm in front of the class and everyone's looking at me? Yeah, that kind of happened.
Judge, the defense team has indicated to me that they intend on using demonstrative aids during opening statement. The ones that I've seen include jury instructions that may not be given and may not be given in the way that the court gives, and photographs that could be coming into evidence I identified at least one that I don't recognize as something they sought to be seeking into evidence, perhaps two.
Response before we go through each photo.
Judge, yeah, defense is self-defense. Sarah's going to testify that she was defending herself. We believe the court's going to rule we're entitled to put
She was defending herself against what?
on a case involving self-defense. And under the instruction for justifiable use of non-deadly force and the justifiable use of deadly force.
I'm not discussing the jury instructions at this time.
There are evidence of prior threats of prior events of violence committed under that instruction, under the self-defense justifiable use.
Here's my concern. Why are we addressing law in opening statement?
Well, I agree with the state attorney. I did pull up a couple of these on the justifiable use of non-deadly force.
That does not answer my question.
I would agree not to use those.
Okay.
Oh, he agrees. Okay, okay.
Using and opening is this standard instruction. It is up to you to decide.
I mean, honestly, I think it's good that the state is bringing this up now because I think the state could have just waited for Owens to give his opening statement and then just interrupted him as he was giving it. Objection, 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 and they made it really disruptive.
Can I see the reasonable doubt instruction, please?
Can we see it also?
Well, here's the first problem. That's the wrong instruction.
Oh, no.
Florida Supreme Court revised 3.7 earlier this year. That is not the appropriate definition of reasonable doubt. It is not what was read to the jury during jury selection. 3.7 now reads, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and it does not mean proof beyond all doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible, a speculative, imaginary, or forced doubt. Such a doubt must
Oh, I feel so bad for him. Who? Margaret! It was Margaret's fault. Fucking Margaret, man.
not influence you to return a verdict of not guilty if you have an abiding conviction of guilt. On the other hand, if after carefully considering, comparing, and weighing all the evidence, there's not an abiding conviction of guilt, or if having a conviction, it is one which is not stable, but one which wavers and vacillates, then the charge is not proved beyond every reasonable doubt, and you must find the defendant not guilty because the doubt is reasonable. That does not track the standard jury instruction. For those reasons, I'm not going to allow it.
Judge, I'll have it redone in arguments.
As long as we're still in the process of working through. The 3.7 instruction speaks for itself. I won't preclude you from using enlargements in closing, but for the purposes of opening, because it doesn't track the 3.7 instruction, I'm not going to allow it.
And this is an excerpt from
Do you want them marked? You want them marked by Madam Clerk, correct? Okay, so let's approach with that first photograph, please. Madam Clerk, yes.
So 3.9, weighing the evidence. It's up to you to decide what evidence is reliable. You should use your common sense in deciding what is the best evidence and which evidence should not be relied upon in considering your verdict. I feel like this is better for closing arguments, no? Not for opening? Shouldn't he save these for closing arguments? The state is like, we don't want this coming in because he's only giving portions of it, not even the entirety of it. Can you imagine if you're about to present for your major project and then they're tearing pieces and parts of it and then you're like, oh shit. Because like usually when you practice, you have an order that you're going to go through, a way that you're going to present it. Now it's going to be all like chopped up. I don't know. It's going to be disruptive.
I don't know what the relevance would be of her just sitting there on her porch with her dogs.
We believe there's going to be evidence of an overt act, that she was facing imminent threat, and she reacted based on that threat.
Understood.
What
In
evidence?
response to Exhibit B.
Let me look at which one?
The evidence is that George had bruises or whatever on his fingers. That's the evidence. You better provide some other evidence.
It's her on the back porch with the two dogs.
Judge, not only did he abuse, George Torres abused.
That's not the issue. The issue.
Oh gosh, is this the Amber Heard thing where not only was Johnny Depp abusive towards me, but he was also abusive towards the dogs. Johnny was smoking a cigarette, sticking the dogs out the window while howling. Y'all remember that?
Is that the state represented that it was not part of your exhibit list?
I believe it is a part of the exhibit list. We got this from the state. They sent over a bunch of pictures of flowers or paintings that they want to introduce that they listed as exhibits. I thought for sure we put this on there, but the relevance of it is not only did he abuse Sarah Boone, George Torres, he abused the dogs. and he would threaten to abuse the dogs to control Sarah Boone.
The court's had the opportunity to what was pre-marked as A through I inclusive. First, with regard to the portion of the 3.9 instruction, purposes of opening statement is to set the table of what the issues are, what the parties believe the facts and evidence will show. It is not a proper time to be discussing law or elements of law, and that is an element of law that will be instructed to the jury at the end of the case. So the court's going to exercise its discretion for those reasons and prohibit you from using the portion of the 3.9 instruction in opening statement. You can talk about this is a job that you're going to have, but I'm not going to allow you to read portions of the instruction for those reasons at this time. With regard to what was pre-marked as A through I, the Holland case is clear. Before a defendant may introduce evidence of the victim's character, he must first show that there was an overt act by the victim at or about the time of the incident that reasonably indicated a need for self-defense. I understand your good faith belief. I take no position on whether or not you're going to make it or not. That's something that you're going to have to establish. But the concern is that the photographs, some of them are graphic in nature. The lacerations, the sutures, the bruising, facial wounds with bleeding may have such a impact such that the toothpaste cannot be placed back into the tube, assuming that overt act hurdle is not met. The court, again, takes no position on whether or not you're going to be able to meet it because I haven't heard the evidence and testimony. So court's going to exercise its discretion for those reasons. You can talk about it. You can talk about it that she was a victim. You can talk about specific, some incidences made it happen, but I'm not going to allow the photographs at this point in time for those reasons, for your utilization of them in opening statements. All right, are we prepared to bring in?
So no photographs from the defense and no bringing up their 3.7 instruction, the 3.9 instructions.
Our jury at this time.
I've got two other issues.
No!
They've been waiting for an hour and 20 minutes, Counselor.
Bring them in!
We intend to play the 2-minute suitcase video to the jury in opening statement.
Why?
State?
Again, I'm asking you to urge your discretion. They're going to hear it in the next 2 days of court.
I'm not going to allow proposed exhibits to be used in opening statements. It's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm not going to allow your photographs, not going to allow the state to do anything. You can orally talk about what you believe the evidence and testimony is going to show, but the actual evidence is going to have to be presented here through witnesses or through demonstration.
Do they think it's going to be better for them to present the suitcase video so they can get ahead of it and explain it to the jury? How the fuck are you going to explain it to the jury?
Did anyone happen to ride an elevator this morning with any of the attorneys, either for the state or for the defense? All right, juror in seat number 3 from my left, first row. Yes, ma'am.
I rode the elevator with the
Okay, thank you. Can you all approach for a moment?
What'd she say? She said something with an attorney. Excuse me, ma'am, what happened?
And a juror in seat 4, left to right, first row. Yes, sir. Who did you ride the elevator with? Oh. Do you recall who specifically, sir? Mr. Owens. Okay, thank you.
Aren't you supposed to, like, not get in the elevator with the jury? Wait for the next elevator ride? Listen. Mr. Owens was really tired this morning. He was focusing on those exhibits, getting those relevant pages in to the state. He wasn't paying attention to who the fuck was in the elevator, okay? He couldn't recognize the jury, all right? Unless they had jury badges on. All right, we're finally in opening statements. Now, the audio was really rough, and I finally was able to figure out towards the end when Owens was talking. However, I'll do my best to make it good and loud for you guys. But, you know, in my opinion, I think you can skip the state's opening arguments. I think you go directly to Owens. I'm not saying the state did a bad job or anything, but it was just, we didn't really learn anything new. It wasn't until we got to Owens where we got a preview, a real preview of what he's going to argue and what the defense is going to be. We know it's going to be battered spouse defense, but we want to know the nuances of what else they're going to try to say Sarah did that justified her actions. If you don't want to listen to opening statements because you think the audio sucks, I recapped it for you guys, so don't worry about that. Or you can just jump right into witness testimony.
Ladies and gentlemen, what the evidence in this case is going to show you is that this defendant zipped Jorge Torres shot in a suitcase. He able to do this because at the time of his death, he only weighed 103 pounds. And she did this with the malicious intent to punish him. And then she went up to sleep and left him to take his final breaths on this earth alone. How many breaths those were, we don't know. The evidence is going to show that it was at least for about 15 minutes because there's going to be 2 videos. that the defendant herself took of this event. The evidence is going to show George Torres is dead because in this defendant's judgment, he deserved it. And out of a conscious disregard for whether he lived or died, you will see and hear these videos. What I expect you will hear from a video that began at 11:12 p.m., 45 seconds, on February 23rd, 2020, in Orange County, Florida, is a suitcase on the ground, face down, with the zippers facing the floor. You will hear Sarah, the defendant will say, "For everything you've done to me." Sarah, "For everything you've done to me." Sarah, "Fuck you." And then the defendant laughs. Sarah, "Fuck you." And the defendant laughs. Sarah, "Stupid." Sarah, "That's my name. Don't wear it out." Sarah, "I can't fucking breathe, baby. Seriously." "Yeah, that's what you do when you choke me." Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. The defendant laughs again. Sarah, "I can't breathe, babe." She laughs again. "That's on you." Sarah, "I can't breathe." She laughs again. Unintelligible words. And I would submit the evidence is going to show, because of the intoxication from alcohol, is the next thing she says. Sarah, 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 "I can't breathe, baby." "That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." Sarah, "Fuck you." "I can't fucking breathe, Sarah." "You should probably shut the fuck up." Sarah, "Shh," is the last thing you will hear the defendant say to Mr. Torres as he is face down, zipped shut, in a suitcase. That, again, began at 11:12:45 and lasts just over 2 minutes. At 11:23 and 3 seconds p.m., there's a second 22-second video, and it's the defendant zooming in on the suitcase. And all you hear during this 22 seconds, after he's been in this suitcase since at least 11:12 p.m., is one more time, Sarah. How did we get to this point where 103-pound George Torres gets put into this suitcase, left to die? Well, the next morning, the defendant wakes up, late morning, perhaps early afternoon, somewhere in this time range, several hours later. And she goes downstairs, and she doesn't see George anywhere, Torres, and eventually realizes, oh my God, he's in the suitcase. The first thing she does after taking him out, and I believe you will hear a description by the defendant saying, he took his little legs out. At some point she makes that statement. And tries to resuscitate him. Hears gurgling as she presses down on his 103-pound chest, forcing whatever air was trapped in there out and gurgling. Then the next thing she does is she doesn't call 911. She calls Brian Boone. And who's Brian Boone? Well, Brian Boone is her ex-husband. They share a child in common. And this date, February 24th, 2020, is a Monday. A normal work day for most people. School day for their child that they share in common. But after they got divorced, the arrangement was every other weekend, they would co-parent. And that weekend included Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's that 3 schedule. And then Mondays and Tuesdays, their child would be her responsibility. And Wednesdays and Thursdays, their child would be Mr. Brian Boone's responsibility. So February 23rd, 2020 was a Sunday. And now we've led into Monday, February 24th, 2020. Mr. Boone had been trying actually to contact the defendant several times that morning because he just wanted to confirm she was going to get their child after school that day. And there had been a history of reliability issues on that issue on her part. So you will see in the phone record, he calls her and calls her and calls her. And then she finally calls him back instead of calling 911. And being the nice co-parent that he is, he comes over. It's a short drive, about 10 minutes. And as she's explaining to him what the heck is going on, he peeks in through the front door of her townhouse, which allows you a view all the way to the back sliding glass door. You're going to see that her kitchen is off to the right, but there's a doorway that you can see all the way through. And on the back side of the kitchen in the breakfast room area, there's tables and stuff. There's also some blue legs sticking out in view. Brian Boone says, check please. You need to call 911. He doesn't set foot into that townhouse. He does wait outside though, being the good co-parent that he has been. So now, after having first called her ex-husband, after having first waited for Brian Boone to come over, the defendant makes the 911 call.
Oh, they're going to play the 911 call?
What you will not hear are tears. You will not hear sorrow. You will hear a certain level of concern. My boyfriend and I were playing last night. Put him in a suitcase, and we were playing hide-and-seek kind of thing. I fell asleep. Found him dead in the suitcase this morning. I don't know what happened. He had blood coming out of his mouth. Don't know if it was an aneurysm. Pulled him out of the suitcase, tried to give him CPR. He was in the suitcase, and I fell asleep. He's not awake. He's purple. He's not breathing. There's some instructions about how to do CPR given to her, about whether an AED is available to shock his heart.
Hello?
We were playing hide and seek. We were playing hide and seek. This is horrible. This is horrific what happened. Like, what happened? We were playing hide and seek last night and I fell asleep. So she mentions that there was blood coming out of his mouth. And his body, like all...
You know what? At first I was confused. If he was being asphyxiated inside a suitcase, why would there be blood coming out of his mouth? Now it makes sense if she was beating him with a baseball bat.
All bodies in suspicious deaths was taken to the 9th District Medical Examiner's office in autopsy. What the doctor found was what you would expect after being left in a suitcase, crumpled up in the fetal position. He passed from positional asphyxiation, meaning like you're not going to get full breaths when you're crumpled up like an accordion, and environmental suffocation. You don't have to have a plastic bag over your head, taped shut with a full roll of duct tape to seal it off 100% and be worthy of the vacuum of space to environmentally suffocate. It's close enough if you can't get the oxygen and the CO2 coming in and out of your environment. But she also did notice, yeah, he suffered from blunt force trauma.
So once his Fox 35 is better audio, let's see.
Yeah, he suffered from blunt force trauma on his torso, in his face, his mouth. She'll use words like contusion, will help her explain contusions and bruises. She'll use words like hematomas, will help her understand for you all that that means bleeding under the skin and blood, what you expect will bruise, that's why they're running blue. but had all this additional trauma. He had trauma on his fingers as well. So now, the sheriff's office, Orange County Fire Rescue show up, and the defendant interacts with the first patrol officer. You will see and hear that body-worn camera, and it's more of the same as what we heard on the 911 call. It was like hide and seek. It was good. I fell asleep. I don't know what happened. A few hours later, the detectives from the homicide unit of the Orange County Sheriff's Office approach her and are ready to interview her after doing some initial things, which includes grabbing her cell phone off of a counter that was found by a suitcase by Mr. Torres and giving it to one of their digital forensic examiners who we'll hear from later in the trial. No alarm. But it's time to give a first interview with the defendant. So they do a first interview with the defendant in one of their unmarked detective patrol cars there on the scene. And the basics of this remain the same, but there's a little more elaboration, as you would expect from trained detectives versus getting the 911 call taken. But the basics of what the defendant tells them is we had wine, we painted, we drew, we did puzzles. The particular wine we had was a Chardonnay from the Woodbridge winery. The bottles, plural, are in the trash. We started about 4 p.m. after Mr. Torres went to the store. Puzzles, art, listening to music, enjoying each other's company. We were literally just enjoying one another's company. The other bottle of wine that was left over from Boone wasn't even half full, so the description she is saying is one bottle of wine and plus a fraction of a bottle of wine left over from the night before. Ladies and gentlemen, not all bottles of wine are made the same. Many of us may envision what you would expect at a restaurant. Those are 750s, 750 milliliters of that.
Oh, did they have the big old bottle of wine?
Bottles of wine that were recovered from the defendant's trash can were 1.5 liters.
Oh, the big
So the equivalent of 2 standard bottles of wine.
Oh.
A 1.5 liter bottle of wine is 50 ounces. Given that a standard serving of wine is 5 ounces, you can begin to do the math. And there's receipts. The day before, Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, there is a receipt from Publix for a bottle of Woodbridge wine for $9.74. And then Sunday at 12:17 p.m., there is another receipt for $9.74 for a Woodbridge Chardonnay bottle of wine. And then at about 5:30 in the afternoon on February 23rd, again, there is another receipt for the same bottle of wine for the same price. And those 2 bottles of wine were recovered. They're going to be produced to you in evidence, and you will see that they are, in fact, Magnum bottles of wine. So that's the context.
He should have said Mega Pint. That would have been funnier. But anyways, so when I heard 2 bottles of wine, I was like, I can't believe that they got drunk off 2 bottles of wine, especially if they're both alcoholics. And if Sarah only drank 2 bottles of wine by herself, I still had a hard time believing that, like, okay, 2 bottles of wine, really? But now it makes sense. They were ginormous bottles of wines. They were double the size. Holy.
That we're dealing with when we hear things like, we only had 1 bottle of wine and we finished what was left in the bottle of wine from before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 1.5 liters that apparently were consumed by a 103-pound man and the defendant, who is in the same weight class. Plus, if you believe that the defendant and the decedent would leave leftover wine from any given day.
And then also, when Sarah Boone says, I only had 1 glass, well, now we know her definition of a glass is not our definition of a glass. It might just be like a big old like boot or something. Those like German boots.
Any additional wine that was remaining from the 1.5 liters from Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lot of wine. So in that context, we were just having wine, enjoying each other's company. At one point, we play hide and seek. She says she didn't zip it up all the way.
There was enough room, in her words again, there was enough room for his little fingers to get out. We were still having a good time and whatever. And basically, you know, Mr. Torres is stressing out about jobs, his ex-wife, about money. And so they're just doing puzzles and doing things to keep his mind off of it. Doing art, playing with the dogs, dancing with the dogs, playing hide and seek. We were always trying to outdo each other where we could find each other the best. When they started playing hide and seek, she went up to the shower and then got tired of hanging out in the shower and came down, and that's when she found him playing around in the suitcase. We both thought it was funny. I'm going to zip you up.
I don't believe that.
Two little fingers could stick out. And she went upstairs thinking, he'll get out, we're going to have sex and go to sleep and call it a day. It was a good day. She insists that they had wine, but we're not drunk. You will be able to assess that for yourselves when you hear the recording she made. No ill will between us last night. Last argument, maybe last week. Don't really argue. We came home, drink, smoked, did art, listened to music, play with the dogs. We drink what we can afford. We used to be able to afford liquor, but now we can only afford wine. And that's how that day ends with the police. She goes and sleeps and stays at her ex-husband's house the night of February 24th and the 25th. What they are doing, and by they I mean Orange County Sheriff's Office in part, is going through her phone. That's when they discovered the two videos that I just described for you. And there's other things in the phone, which I will discuss with you in a little bit. But she's summoned in for another interview, and she sits down and gives another interview on February 25th, now Tuesday. She does describe past instances of violence. You're going to hear about that. She's going to say, Mr. Torres had hit her with a curtain rod about a month ago. Since then, though, like, we've been good. I've been good. She describes that he comes at her all the time. He comes at me. So it's either I flee or I try to go upstairs and go to sleep. That's usually what it is. I don't know if you talk to Brian, her husband, about any of that, but most of the time I flee and I go over there. There's a discussion about why she stays with him, and you'll hear that for yourself. She will say that she doesn't really want to drink. She just takes an occasional drink. She drinks to placate him, Mr. Torres. She says that you're going to see phone videos of Mr. Torres smashing her TV in the past, like a month earlier. You may see that too. But she doesn't get drunk. When she drinks, she likes being non-compos mentis, her words, not mine, having her wits about herself. Then she gets to the hide and seek again and describes that they've played it 3 times before, but had never zipped one another shut in it before. And they were really just running out of places to hide because it's just a townhome. She does not remember, according to her, she does not remember taking any photos or videos of the night's events. At this point, they ask her, well, would you like to see it? And she says, I can't watch this. I flipped him over. I flipped him over, and that's where it was. Guys, this is killing me right now. That's why I flipped it over between the 2 videos. I didn't do anything intentional. Discussion over whether he had enough room to get any of his fingers out from the zipper. My intention was not to leave him there. We both got in there. Both of us were in there.
Don't believe that.
When she went upstairs, my plan was not to, quote, he'll be up here any minute. My plan wasn't to leave him in the suitcase. Why is all this going on? It's the drinking. That's what it is. It's the drinking.
Campus Bencho sounds
I thought
like
it
Harry
was
Potter
like, I thought he was okay. Guys, that's how we were with each other. Nobody understands our relationship. This whole suitcase thing never happened before. though she described it happening before. I'll never drink alcohol again. She insists that she has no injuries on her. And you don't have to take her word for it, because they took photographs of her and there were no injuries on her. She insists over and over that there was no violence that day. It's like, okay, we're in a good place right now. They ask her about saying "fuck you" to Mr. Torres. Well, that's just being playful and having a good day. Everybody's having a good day. I didn't touch him, nor did he touch me. Her
What about
words.
the baseball bat?
What else is found on her phone? There's a conversation between Mr. Torres' brother, and again, nobody knows who's using these phones at the time text messages are sent in these records that you're going to see. But it's indicated that there's a communication between one of the decedent's brothers and the owner of the phone that was taken that belongs to Miss Boone. The text from the brother is, "Yo, my daughter told me what you did, Sarah. I don't want you around any of my daughters or nieces and nephews." And that's Christmas 2019, just under 2 months before this event. She replies, or the person using her
Oh, they're probably going to testify. We're probably going to hear what happened and why they wrote the text message, what the daughters saw. Sarah did.
device at this time. "Ugh, your quote-unquote dad hit me in the face." The next text is, "Hide and seek, I shall."
What?
January 13th, there's another heated discussion. She describes it on January 13th in a text to Mo, the brother again. "It's a Torres thing. Boo." Sends a picture. "Keep the fugly creep out too. It's still fugly. Lose." The brother responds, "Please do something with yourself, Sarah. God bless you." The defendant's response, "And bless you and all of you too. I'll get, in all capitals, rid of him. Then it'll be, in all capitals, better. Ugh, Torres." Referring to Mr. Torres, getting rid of. And that's the case. That's what the evidence is going to show. But we, the state of Florida, and the members of the jury in our journey through this case, we're all going to come up to a door that says, "Danger, keep out, stay away, by court order." And that door says, "The defendant's history with the victim is a door we shall not enter without permission and invitation. Halloween in like 13 days. Part of the vampire lore is vampires can't come get you in your house."
Something about vampires can't come in.
Well, I participate during this trial. We're going to be invited in to the defendant's past relationship for the previous couple of years with Mr. Torres. And as we come inside this room, at her beckoning, we are going to have things pointed out that she would like us to focus on. And you're going to hear the first night the defendant met the decedent, Mr. Torres, he smashes her phone, punches her. It's the first time in her life she'd ever been punched, I expect the testimony to be. And he made her curl up in a fetal position on her own porch for 4 hours, and she was only able to escape this situation when he fell asleep. I expect that you're going to hear that Mr. Torres is an alcoholic. I expect you may hear his high score on his blood alcohol level was a 342 once when he got treated at the hospital. This is a man who has serious alcohol problems, and I expect you're going to hear about that. Despite that first date, and this is going to tie into some other things that I expect could possibly come in. Despite that first date, despite at that point in time of this first date not having a relationship, emotional ties, and the things that come along with a relationship that make it harder to break off a relationship, it's one thing to have a bad first date. The
It's another thing to end a 25-year marriage. Despite that first date, there's a second and a third. Now, these dates are at bars, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it just typically ends up, she's going to tell you, I suspect, or you're going to hear that she said one way or another. It's one thing or the other. Like, I ask a dude for a cigarette, Mr. Torres flips out, and I'm going to pay the price. Just things like that. And you're going to hear and potentially see, yes, there were injuries that the defendant is going to attribute to the victim causing her. Black eyes, cuts in the face, perhaps from the curtain rod incident that was mentioned in the police interview happening about a month before this. Bloody ear, a stab wound in the leg, which is perhaps described as sword fighting, playing around in medical evidence. But nonetheless, I suspect you're going to hear and see a lot about their past history. And at the end, if this occurs, if this comes in, the state is going to have the opportunity to take lead of the tour in this room labeled the defendant and the victim's past history. And I'm not going to go into that now. If this all comes to fruit, the blooms on the tree during the trial, we'll discuss it at the end where it's more appropriate. But I'm asking you to not rush to judgment until you hear all of the evidence in the case. And then apply whether or not these past instances have anything to do with what happened on February 23rd. Now, like a home inspector, there are experts to come in and kind of help walk everybody through this room labeled the defendant and the victim's past relationship. I suspect there's a chance you may hear from some experts, psychologists and psychiatrists, about battered spouse syndrome. The state is not challenging in any way that battered spouse syndrome exists. It's well recognized. The experts will tell you all about it. Not disputing that at all. But there's some things that we would hope that you pay attention to during all the testimony, if there is any, about this subject matter. One is that it's not actually a recognized diagnosis in the Bible that they use in mental health called DSM-5-PR. Diagnostic Statistical Manual, version 5, and I think it's text revision or something like that. What it is, and what they describe it as, is kind of a component of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But because it's not actually in the book, it's like a recipe book. It's like our statute books for lawyers. You go into this book and say you have a particular disorder or diagnosis. It'll say, well, all of us agree that it needs these three elements, like elements of crime. Some of these elements have to be prevalent for a certain amount of time, so on and so forth. You imagine it's a cookbook. Gives you the recipe for a diagnosis. But because it's not in the cookbook, you may get some disagreement about what it means between experts, because it's kind of like grandma's recipe handed down from generation to generation without being right. But what I expect you'll hear is, it's important for people who don't have experience in certain abusive relationships that are violent to understand the control that can be exerted over on an intimate partner by the other one, isolation, psychological violence, emotional violence, physical violence, sexual violence, which I suspect will be described for you as well by the defendant, perpetrated on her by the decedent. You will hear about all this. And what it ties into at the end of the day, after we've talked about.
I just want to say Mr. J speaks way louder than Mr. Owens. Mr. Owens goes up there to do his opening statements. It's going to be a struggle to listen to him because he speaks way softer.
This during jury selection is, if there is a self-defense instruction read to you, this is to help you understand what an objective and reasonable person in the circumstances would do. Because years ago, we've gotten better as a society. Years ago, when this was first being researched, the question would be, well, why don't you leave? In back spouse syndrome, the testimony from these experts help explain those things to people. Well, it's not that easy. You got to look at what's going on in the relationship, the isolation, control, so on and so forth. And that explains why you wouldn't leave. Well, now, but turning to the facts of our case, what you're going to decide the facts are is ordinary, objective, reasonable person in those circumstances taking those actions if you get a self-defense instruction as part of that. That's what it's used for. It's not used for explaining the subjective beliefs that one holds. What you will also hear about these things is, just like any other doctor or any expert, like a home inspector. If a home inspector's report was based solely on the person who's trying to sell the house, what they say about the house, great shape. I rewired the entire thing. Brand new JDC pipes. This sucker's good to go. I'm crazy at $600,000. You're not going to take that home inspector's report unless they lift the hood, take the tires, do all the things that the Fox on here, Carfax does. You want an expert to get reliable information. And an expert's opinion is only as good as the information that he or she relies on. They will say, yeah, you gotta take into account the credibility of the person who's giving you the story, even if it's the patient or the client that is saying all these things happen to her. You gotta find proper information. You gotta check reliability, particularly in circumstances like you're discussing.
Who was this guy?
Another thing that they're going to tell you is, just because there's a bunch of violent nonsense going on between two intimate partners doesn't mean that they're going to tell you is, just because there's a bunch of violent nonsense, some people can go home and fight like cats and dogs, and that's just their day, and they get over it, they live their life and fight another day. Their cycle just spins like that. So just because you hear about those things, what the experts will tell you, it doesn't mean that it necessarily applies. If this is testimony, then I expect that Dr. Harper will say that it applies to Ms. Boone. But we'll talk to her about what she relied upon to make that conclusion. We'll talk to her about some other things and take that journey together to get there. But at the end of the day, after you hear all of the evidence in this case, particularly straight from the horse's mouth, the video, where you don't have to rely upon the credibility of anything other than your own two eyes and your own two ears, the state submits that you're going to return a guilty verdict for second-degree murder. What the evidence is going to show is that the defendant killed Mr. Torres because she decided he deserved it. Not because the evidence will show an objective, reasonable person in her circumstances needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. J. Any opening remarks by the defense?
Judge, can we invoke the rule if it has been?
I've already advised the witnesses.
Okay. The rule of sequestration will be invoked. Thank you.
I actually forgot the state did introduce something new. That was the bottle of wine that was found in Sarah Boone's trash can. They're not ordinary bottle of wines. They were the double the size 1.5 liters bottle of wine. So imagine the two people, one 103 pounds, the other one 120, 130 pounds. If they drank two 1.5 liters bottle of wine and maybe some leftover from the day before, that's a lot of alcohol. That makes a lot of sense now. Because before I was like, man, just 2 bottles of wine? That doesn't really seem like too much for people who are alcoholics. I would know. But I wasn't an alcoholic. I just drank a lot back then. All right, Mr. Owens, come on up. Oh, no, Mr. Owens. I don't know if I can hear you if you're all the way over there.
You may proceed, sir.
Oh, hell. We ain't going to hear him.
Appreciate y'all being here. I was introduced before. My name is James Owens, and I represent Sarah Boone, along with Tony Henderson and Kevin Gray. Now, this is going to be a several-day trial. Obviously, today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're not sure, but trying to make arrangements for witnesses to find expert witnesses and whatnot, and we'll know more probably at the end of the day or Monday, so you can plan. But I know your focus is on this case because you took a note to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no higher call than to write a will. No higher call than to write a will. And we're going to ask you at the end of the case to write this will. And find Sarah Boone not guilty because she was justified in the force that she used to defend herself. If that force was
Oh, let me go to long crime.
she used to defend herself. If that force was reasonable under the circumstances that existed between Sarah Boone and George Torres.
I got it.
Sarah Boone and George Torres were down and out, as you can be. Their life centered around alcohol. Both of them suffered from, used to be called alcoholism, now it's called alcohol abuse syndrome. And so day to day, they struggle with the use of alcohol. You can imagine that. It affected their jobs. It affected keeping employment. It affected even getting a job. As codependent as you can be towards each other. And you're going to learn with all that was domestic violence. And that George Torres physically abused Sarah Boone. And she suffered from the effects, the psychological effects that one suffers from repeat violence from an intimate partner. They were together over 3 years, and there were several prior incidences of violence. We've got the photographs. There were incidences where police were called who took photographs. So you're going to be able to see the evidence. And we believe the court will instruct you at the end when you're considering self-defense, which we call justifiable use of non-deadly force or justifiable use of deadly force, that you can consider the prior acts, the history of violence, the prior difficulties that the parties had. And considering her set of circumstances that she was faced with in making the decision to use reasonable force under the circumstances. And the most important thing I can tell you here today is keep an open mind. There's two sides to every story. You're going to hear the state's side, them attempting to paint her a certain way, as they've done here today in opening statement. And then you're going to hear another side. And you're going to have to weigh that, all the evidence, the credibility of the witnesses, the photographs, the videotapes, and come to a conclusion. Now let's talk about this day, February 23rd of 2020, the date of this event. This case has been pending for some time. Here we are, October of 2024. I think the evidence is going to show that they had purchased some wine the day before, but they hadn't finished all of that. So it was in the refrigerator. Many times that's how they start their day. At some point, you're going to see a video from Publix, from where they live.
That's the grocery store.
I believe it's Winter Park. But Publix was not too far from their apartment complex. And they took their car, they drove over there. So you're going to see a videotape from Publix of them both going in the store about noon, and they come out with one of those larger bottles of the wine. And then, of course, there's a receipt, and the bottles are in the garbage can. Of course, there obviously is an attraction between the two. And as everybody knows, couples can have great times where things click, everybody gets along, and then we can have episodes of disagreement. And how are those resolved? Really, is what this is about. How are disagreements resolved? But George was very jealous of Sarah, and you're going to hear the testimony about that, and that he cannot, in certain situations, he can be very charming, but when his level of intoxication gets to a certain level, it's when he gets sad, moody, and a lot of times eventually it involved forcible sex with Sarah Boone or actual physical violence against her. They bought the wine. It's a simple life. They don't have much money. But they both like art. They did that for a while. They both like puzzles. They did that for a while. Well, about 5 or so, the wine bottle was gone. And George had said, I want to go get some cigarettes. So there's a convenience store right close by their apartment complex. And Sarah thought he was just going to walk over there and get cigarettes and come back. But no, what he did was he got her keys, he got her debit card, and he went over to the Publix and he got another bottle. And I think that was about 5:30, something like that. And again, there'll be the Publix video showing him going in, going out, and there'll be a receipt for the purchase of that bottle, and then there'll be that bottle will be in the garbage can along with the other bottle. Well, when he comes in with the second bottle, Sarah knows this is not good. She knows this means he's going to get to another level of intoxication. So Sarah's concerned. So she attempts to placate him, keep him busy, keep him in a good mood. They drink that bottle, or she drinks as well. And at some point, they're intoxicated.
Wow. So she's trying to say that, oh my God, George went out to buy cigarettes, but then he actually secretly went to Publix, got another giant bottle of wine so he can get drunk. So now I'm really concerned that he's going to abuse me. Why didn't you call Brian Boone? Why didn't you leave the house? Go somewhere else. No, I think she sent him to go get another bottle of wine. I think they were drunk. They were having a good time like she said they were. And then they opened that second bottle of wine and started drinking again. Oh, gosh. I mean, they're doing a really good job at crafting Sarah's defense story, though.
At a high level. As some people do when they're drunk, they get silly. And they decide to play a game of hide and seek. She goes upstairs, their bedroom's upstairs, to the shower and waits for a period of time. And he doesn't come to her. At some point, she gets cold, she gets tired, she wants to go sleep. Well, maybe we got it mixed up. Where is he? So she goes downstairs, and they had gotten a suitcase down a week or so ago. It's an old suitcase that they were going to donate to Helping Hands or Goodwill or somebody, and they were putting some items in there. And it's a broken down suitcase. It's a large suitcase. They both weigh about 100 pounds. And they don't eat good. Malnourished to a large degree. But the pull handle is broken off. And they attached a little paper clip that's got the rubber around it, and that's how they pull it back and forth. Well, she comes down the steps, she sees him getting in and settling in the suitcase. So she walks over there, and they see each other, and they smile and laugh, and she zips him up. And she zips him up, and they laugh for a while. And they carry on. She sits on the couch, and at some point he says, "I can't breathe." Now, his face is facing the zipper, and she's got 2 or 3 inches that she's opened it. And she doesn't know, they're intoxicated, she doesn't know whether he's just saying that to try to get her to get him out or what. But he's a captive audience. Physically, they're the same size, but he's much stronger than her. If they got in a fist fight, he would win 100 times out of 100. But she's got him now. He claims he can't get up. He has to sit and listen. It's a unique form of physical restraint. And so she lets him have it. Says things she shouldn't say. You'll see the video. It's about 2 minutes long. She videotapes it. She sits on the couch and turns her phone on and videotapes it for about 2 minutes. There's another video that's approximately 11 minutes later. The first video, the suitcase is flipped upside down. The zipper's on the bottom. 11 minutes later, Sarah has flipped it right side up. Again, open for him to get out. And it's only 22 seconds.
Wait, is he saying that the reason why she flipped the suitcase was because she was hoping that he would get out on his own? That flipping it was making it easier for him to get out? Oh my God, the lies!
And you hear George say Sarah. And that's it. Now the key to the case is that 11 minutes. And what happened during that 11 minutes. Okay? That is the key to this case. Sarah Boone will take the stand. She will explain what happened. She will explain why it happened. The evidence will show that she was justified in the action she took to prevent an attack from George Torres, which the law acknowledges that every one of us has the right to invoke, the right of self-defense.
Not in this case.
You can hear from the medical examiner. She is going to tell you about some bruising on George Torres. Of course, he was in the suitcase a while, deceased, we believe. And that changes things a little bit, as the medical examiner will explain. But there's some bruising. Sarah's going to explain that to you. Why that happened. What were the circumstances surrounding that? Involving the bat. Her son comes and stays with them from time to time. He has his own room. He has several of his things there. And there's a bat downstairs. The same bat that George Torres used, and there's a video where George is threatening Sarah. And he's swinging the bat at the TV about as hard as he can. And he does it about 6 or 7 times. You'll see it. Sarah's recording it. And it's during an argument. And he's trying to intimidate.
Okay.
Sarah loved you. You know, you're going to hear why women don't leave. Why women don't leave. And you're going to hear about Sarah Boone and her struggles, her mental health struggles. Sarah had no intent to kill. The prosecutor mentioned she wanted him to die. Farthest from the truth. She loved the man. She hated the abuse. She couldn't leave him. She tried. She tried kicking him out 6 or 7 times. He kept coming back. She changed the locks. He kept coming back. She didn't have the family. She didn't have the support. She was weak, vulnerable. You're going to hear it all. You've got to take that all into account to try to understand what happened and the circumstances surrounding this tumultuous relationship.
I'm sorry, but Sarah wanted someone to bully. Sarah probably felt like she was nothing without George because she was the savior in George's life. And then she would go around telling people, oh my God, George is a bad person. I'm a victim. He did this to me. And then she'd also go around saying, oh my God, I'm a savior. I did this for George. He's a good person because of me now. I think she just felt like she was nothing without him.
Now, you can find that Sarah's not perfect. And, you know, she goes, as many of us do when we drink too much, and you sleep in. She slept in. 11, 12, 1, somewhere around there. She moseys downstairs looking for George. She thought he was on the computer looking for a job. She looked outside, maybe he's out smoking a cigarette, and she sees a suitcase. She unzips it. She gets him out. He's purple. She tries her best to do some CPR. She freaks out. The only family she's got is her ex-husband, really. She relies on him. As the prosecutor said, a lot of times she'll flee to her ex-husband's house, and her son is at, Lucas. It's the only thing she knows to do. She was kind of a sheltered daughter when she was younger. She's smart, but she's not worldly.
She's smart, but she's not worldly. I don't know, man. Is she smart?
She calls Brian. Look, what do I do? He said, I'm coming up. Please come up. He's about 5 minutes away. And she calls him again within a couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm on the way. He gets there. He walks in the foyer and sees his legs. She called 911. She calls 911 within a minute or two. Detective Rodriguez arrives. You know, they got the body cam now, so it's recorded. So you're going to hear Sarah talking. But Sarah's freaking out. Sarah's thinking, and I'm somehow responsible.
She excels at everything. True.
Eventually, she gives a statement to law enforcement. She gives one to Deputy Rodriguez. Of course, she's not the homicide investigator. She's just responding. She's the first responder. And, you know, they know what to do. They try to assess the situation. They start putting the tape out. And then they call for the homicide investigators to come, which takes a little time. So she gets a statement from Sarah. Eventually, the homicide detectives get a statement from Sarah and one of the unmarked squad cars. And it's recorded. You may hear that. And then the next day, they take Sarah's phone. Sarah gives them the phone, signs the consent to take the phone, take it to, they have a phone extraction people at the sheriff's department where they can take it and take out all the data, all your phone calls, text messages, photographs, videos, all that. And they find these 2 videos. Sarah's not aware. She doesn't remember making the video. You can imagine. She gives them the phone. Of course, she makes no attempts to do anything other than, here's the phone. So they tell her, you're going to get your phone back tomorrow. We'll bring it back to you tomorrow. Well, They end up having a conversation with the female detective, homicide detective, Copsall is her name, Chelsea Copsall. And they end up, Deputy Copsall was pregnant, or Detective Copsall was pregnant. So they end up, hey, we're not going to bring your phone, I'm not feeling good, I'm pregnant, can you come to the sheriff's department? Which Sarah Boone was telling you, that was what I was going, that's what they told me I was going to the sheriff's department for. Well, instead, it was an interrogation. And they were going to arrest her. They made their mind up already. And they were going to confront her and try to get her to confess based on the 2 videos. And so there's approximately a 2-hour interrogation that was on the 25th in the afternoon. When she got there to get her phone, they said, well, we got to come up here. We need to talk to you. And they got her in the room. It's a small room, but it's being videotaped and audio taped. And it goes on for about 2 hours of them trying to get a confession to murder. And it doesn't happen. But Sarah lies. She's scared. She can tell they're trying to pin her on this, that this was some kind of intentional act.
So she lies and says, oh, it was an accident? Oh, is that how they're going to explain it away?
And it was not. So she lies. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know about self-defense. She doesn't understand she has a lawful right to defend herself. She doesn't understand that she's justified in using the force that she used.
Or was she just lying, but at the same time, sort of telling the truth?
She doesn't. I wasn't there to advise her. No lawyer was there. So she lied. And you're going to hear that. So you're going to have to balance that versus her taking a stand and testifying for you. And we simply ask that you look for the evidence of cooperation of her testimony. It's going to be later, probably next week. The judges will tell you in reading instruction on evaluating a witness's credibility, and they'll talk about corroborative evidence, other evidence that's consistent with the testimony that Sarah Boone did. So you're going to have to weigh that in her testimony. Now, self-defense, we talked about it in jury selection, usually a gun, some deadly weapon. The suitcase in this case was a physical restraint or a blocking of an attack, but it was unconventional. Self-defense, nonetheless. Now, as I said, the struggles that occurred, many of them involved the police. So you're going to actually hear from some of the police officers. Maybe some body cam footage. You're going to see some photographs that they took of the injuries to Sarah Boone. And some of the videos you may see of her in a very happy, joyful type of thing. Well, number one, she's intoxicated. Number two, she's safe. The police are there. So her attitude is not one of distress. We're here today, full, packed courtroom. Judge Craddock's here, but you're the most important people.
Oh.
Because you've got to decide this case honestly, fairly, and according to the law. And we talked about the two biggest principles from the Constitution that apply. In this case, and in every case in which a citizen like Sarah Boone is brought into a courtroom and accused of a crime. The first is, you as a juror must presume or believe that Sarah is innocent. And that belief stays with you throughout the entire trial. Because of that, she doesn't have to prove anything. That's why the state went first in jury selection. That's why the state went first today. That's why the state will go first putting on their case. They have the burden of proof, and it's the highest burden we recognize in any type of litigation in this country. Proof beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. You are going to have doubts about this case.
Are we though?
But the most important thing is not to rush to judgment, to keep an open mind, and understand there's two sides to this case. There's their side and there's our side. So you can't form any fixed opinions early on. That's hard to do, as Mr. Henderson said in jury selection. That's extremely hard to do. Now you're going to hear some testimony. There's been mention of experts. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not. After hearing both sides of this case, we're confident you're going to have a reasonable doubt. And we're going to ask you to follow the law and do justice in this case. And find Sarah Boone not guilty, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now again, the recap for the state. New information that we found out is that the bottles of wine that were found, they were not typical 750 milliliter bottles of wines. They were 1.5 liters, so double the size, about 10 glasses of wine in each one. And there was 2 of them. And I remember, I think Sarah Boone said she consumed a half bottle of wine from the night before, the leftovers. So I think it was even more bottles of wine that they were consuming. And then here is the recap for Mr. Owens' opening statement, because Mr. Owens is giving us a preview of what his defense is going to be, or Sarah Boone's defense is going to be. I think Owens did okay. I think he did okay. I wish I wrote my notes, but I got a little distracted. Let me see. Oh, he tried saying that George was the one who wanted the second bottle of wine, that Sarah was scared when that bottle of wine was introduced, that she was trying to placate him. Although I'm like, she could have left. She could have called Brian Boone, went to his house. She could have called the cops. She's not scared to call the cops whenever there was things going down between her and George, right? She mentions, I think he was trying to say that the reason why Sarah Boone flipped the suitcase was because it was easier for George to get out, I think. But for me, I'm like, well, it would have just been easier for her to just unzip him. Why flip the suitcase so he can get out of his own when you could just unzip him, right? She mentioned, if you're a battered spouse, your perception of danger is different than of like a normal person. It's like, I believe in that, yes. However, again, in Sarah Boone's case, no. I don't think she thought the finger sticking out justifies her leaving him in there. What else did he mention? Oh, that when she was doing the interrogation, she's not an attorney. She's a normal person. She was really scared. She lied. She doesn't know that I got it cut off there by the feed, but I was trying to say that Mr. Owens was trying to say that Sarah Boone is not an attorney. She didn't know that self-defense was a viable defense at the time to bring up and tell the law enforcement officer. So that's why she went with the lie and said it was an accident. I mean, I think the accident was a lie. However, I think it's still a lie. I think it's still a lie about her trying to defend herself. Sorry, guys, I'm so fucking tired. I woke up at like 4 a.m., okay? 4:35 a.m. I'm tired. Our first witness of the day is Juan Torres, a brother of George Torres, and I think we listened to his police interview. I think he was the one that spoke with law enforcement. I'm pretty sure it's him.
How often would you talk with him?
Often we would talk, let's say, on a weekly basis.
And how far away did you live from George?
About 5-10 minutes. Pretty close.
Would you see him pretty often?
I would try not to go over there too much.
What was your relationship like with Sarah?
We didn't really have a relationship.
Would it be fair to say you didn't get along with her?
Yes. We were just talking like we normally did. He just calling me to check on me. Basically.
Now, in the background of that conversation on the evening of February 23rd, 2020, what did you hear?
Sarah's in the background yelling.
And you recognized her voice?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
What was she yelling about?
Something about choking or how he choked her. I really don't. That was it.
About how long was this conversation that you had?
Maybe 10 minutes, I think it was.
How did the conversation end?
Because she was yelling in the background, so that was it. We just hung out.
Did she sound upset?
She sounded upset.
Did you talk to your brother after that conversation?
No, that was the last conversation I had.
Have you ever spoken to Sarah since that conversation?
No.
Not much, very much to the point. They talked about about the phone call. Not much to the point. He talks about the last phone call that he got from his brother, George. I think it was about a day before that he was murdered. Well, because it happened during nighttime. So it was the day before that. And then 2 days afterwards, I think they found the body. Not much really happened in cross-examination. We get a little bit of information, but this went on pretty quickly.
When he called you, did you notice anything about his speech or his voice?
No, he was fine.
Sounded normal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he wasn't slurring his words or anything like that?
No.
By the way he talked or what he talked to you about, could you tell at that time if he had been consuming alcohol?
No, because I knew when he would drink.
Our next two witnesses, we have a Devin Jamro who worked at Publix at the time. So they probably have Devin up there because they're going to probably show the Publix receipt. They're going to show the Publix CCTV footage. Is it called CCTV footage here? I think so, right? Surveillance footage later on the trial. And then for witness number 3, we have a Joan Williams looking very fashionable who worked in 911. Oh my God. Never sleeps up there. It's probably because I put all this shit up there. Oh my God, he's so cute. So cute. Vincent Bataglia, who was the neighbor of Sarah Boone for about roughly a year, moved in January 2019, and he will talk about the chaos, what he heard the night that George would have been in the suitcase. Now, he mentions that they fight pretty often. The walls are very thin. He can hear things. He tries to tune it out.
Did you ever go over to their home?
Yeah.
Really?
Like a couple times, yeah.
And I believe you tuned a guitar for a child there at the house?
Yeah.
Aww. Did she
This
use a toilet?
Tealwood apartment complex, how would you describe the walls that separated your units?
Thin. Like very thin walls.
And with those walls being so thin, would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling coming from Sarah Boone and George Torres's apartment?
Yeah.
How often would you hear this?
Almost daily.
Yikes. No wonder he didn't renew his lease.
There
was a time where he said that he saw Sarah Boone outside smoking pretty late. It was around like midnight or 2 a.m., about 4 to 5 months before the murder happened. And Sarah Boone seems like she didn't really want to go inside. I don't know. Apparently she like fingered over her lips like this in a quiet hush motion and then told him not to record any argument or yelling. Kind of weird. And then he'll talk about what happened that night where he heard a really loud banging noise.
It was pretty late. I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely anywhere between like midnight to 2 a.m., like right around there.
And do you remember how much before the date when the police called that this occurred?
A few months, like probably 4 to 5 months before that.
So 4 or 5 months before February of 2020.
Yeah.
And when she approached you on this late evening / early morning on that day, what did she tell you?
Okay, thank you.
Pretty much just kind of like, if I do hear anything, like through the walls or whatever, just out back, just kind of keep my mouth shut. Like, don't really speak about it or anything like that or say anything to anyone. And I just was like, okay.
Did she make any motions with her hands?
Yeah, like just kind of like, you know, finger over the lips, like kind of shh, like keep it hush, like that kind of thing.
So she told you not to report anything you may have heard about arguments or yelling or fighting, anything going on over there.
Yeah, yeah.
If I ever testified in the stand, I want to be this relaxed. Okay, look, he's so relaxed. He's just like chilling over there. I'd be so nervous. I'd be like, oh God.
That evening sticks out to you.
That sticks out to me from that night was literally just there was a very, very loud noise that I heard that was loud and powerful enough to shake my bedroom wall. And I remember that because I was sitting on my bed on FaceTime with my girlfriend at the time, and I literally felt the wall shake, and it stopped me mid-conversation. And she even asked me through the computer, like, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Did you hear any yelling coming from their apartment on that night?
Before that, yeah, like it was just arguing kind of stuff.
What was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was like the loud noise and just a little bit of shuffling, and that was kind of it. It just kind of went silent after that.
Did you hear anything that was being said?
Not clearly, and it was never really anything clear. It was just like you could hear arguing back and forth, just kind of like an I hate you, like it's whatever it is, whatever the argument was about kind of thing. And at the time, that's really all it was, but it was never really clear enough to hear like the full argument. And honestly, I never really paid attention too much to it. If I heard it, I kind of stepped into my living room to be further away from it. So.
Poor guy.
Did you hear both the defendant's voice and also George Torres's voice?
Yeah. All the time. It was like a back and forth. Yeah.
So other than the statements and the phrases of I hate you, you weren't able to discern the contents of this argument?
No.
And that's why I believe that they were drunk, got into argument, and then she hit him the baseball bat, and then that's when she put him in the suitcase. It doesn't make sense that they got in this huge argument, and then they both went giddy and then start playing around with the suitcase, and he got in willingly. I don't believe that. Now I'm starting to believe that she put him in there. She hit him and put him in there.
What was the last sound you heard?
The last sound that I heard was like the loud banging noise that it was like a very odd sounding noise that I've never heard before this day, but it very much sounded like it was like where my bed was positioned. It was kind of towards the back of the apartment, and it almost sounded like it was coming towards me, but like on the side of me, you know. Then it was just like a loud rumbling noise, like that literally sounded like it was kind of far away from me, and then it like ended up like almost next to me. And like I said, the walls are thin, so like it's very easy to hear.
And that could have been her pushing George down the staircase, whether it's just him down the suitcase or him in a suitcase on the staircase.
The walls, and not even just sideways, like I hear my upstairs neighbor, like all around, very thin walls.
Now, was your bedroom, where was it located in your apartment?
The back of the apartment, so it was like, there's like a little kick out next to my patio, and that's like, that was my bedroom back there, like along the grass back there.
On the first floor?
On the first floor, yeah.
I believe your testimony was that it was pretty intense around 10:30.
Yeah.
Approximately what time was it that you heard this loud crashing thump sound that you described
Little after that.
Overruled.
It was a little after that arguing and stuff. It was probably around 11:15, probably 30, 45 minutes after like the arguing I could hear started.
And remember the video of her filming when George was in the suitcase. I think it started at 11:14. Here is another poor neighbor that lived next to both George and Sarah. This person is actually a roommate of the previous person who testified.
I was just a student.
Did you have much interaction with the defendant or with George Torres in this case?
Honestly, I avoided them as much as possible usually.
The apartment where you lived, tell us, how would you describe the walls that separated the units?
Yeah, I remember that my bedroom was like the front-facing bedroom, and our walls shared a wall with where their staircase was. So, like, the way the apartments were laid out, we
This is the guy that must have brought up the staircase then.
had a one-story apartment, they had a two-story apartment, so they had a staircase running right next to the walls next to, like, our bedrooms.
Would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling going on inside of the defendant's apartment?
Yes, the walls were pretty thin, so if people were yelling, you could definitely hear it.
And how often would you hear arguments or disagreements going on over there?
When I first moved in, it was it was at least like once a week, to the point that I started tuning them out. Like I got good enough at just like not listening to them. They argued very, very often.
Poor guy. Trying to study, man.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, could you hear arguing going on in their unit?
Not late into the evening, earlier into the evening, probably like 7, 8 o'clock that evening, probably. Like earlier on, I could hear arguing.
And where were you inside of your apartment?
I would have been in my bedroom pretty much all night.
And your bedroom, just so that we can paint the picture, where would that would that have been, on the first floor or the second floor?
We had a first floor apartment.
Okay, so all the units were, or all the bedrooms were on the first floor.
Yeah, like I was saying before, we had a one-story apartment, and then they next door had like a two-story townhouse, so we only had the one floor.
Understood. And at a certain point in the evening, did you hear a loud crashing sound?
Yeah, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock that evening.
And can you describe that sound for us in more detail?
I mean, yeah, at literally, like I said, at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's the way their staircase was set up. I could, my bedroom, the top of their staircase would have been like above my ceiling, and then it ends next to where like my roommate's apartment was. So I could hear something start above me super loud and then fall away from me, like it was falling down the stairs.
Did this
Or she pushed George down the stairways.
did this affect the walls that were between your two apartments?
Oh yeah, me and my roommate. I remember me and my roommate talking the next day about like we could literally like it shook both of our rooms.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with the defendant about what happened?
I never saw her after that.
Oh.
She would have. Yeah, I never saw her after that happened.
Now we're in the cross-examination by the defense, and the witness is going to clarify her story about seeing Sarah Boone out on his patio in the middle of the night. Kind of creepy.
Oh, this may have been a slight misconception in how I said this. I never woke up and saw her sitting on the patio myself. That I would have seen her on the patio eventually, but it's not like I woke up and went back and saw her on the patio. This was my roommate relaying the story that she had fallen asleep on the back patio, and then I saw her.
Okay. So you did not witness that yourself, or did you see her?
I saw her asleep on the back patio. I was just clearing up the sequence of events there.
Okay, thank you. Another time, do you recall our interaction with Miss Boone when you were coming home from school and she was trying to talk to you and she seemed paranoid and rambling?
Yeah, I had gotten locked out of my apartment, so I was waiting on the steps waiting on the steps outside of my apartment for my roommate to get home. So she came up and started talking to me. I don't really remember too many details of what she was saying, because I didn't want to talk to her. But yeah.
Okay. Do you remember saying that you believe Sarah was avoiding going into her apartment?
That's definitely the vibe. I don't remember what she was saying, but the vibe she was giving off was that she didn't want to go home.
For those of you guys who are nosy like me and you guys are wondering who are those people that are standing next to the judge says that he teaches mock trial stuff, and so he has his students coming in and watching this trial right next to him. So kind of a cool experience if you're a student, you're a law student, you're sitting on a Sarah Boone trial, but most importantly, you get to be there with Judge Kranick. I think Judge Kranick is a supreme example of what judges should be like. I like Judge Kranick. I really do. And I know you guys do too. Okay, it's not just me. I'm not the one who's fangirling over him. Shh, chill out.
Just in the spirit of full disclosure, there are some persons behind me to my right and my left. I run the mock trial program at Barry University School of Law here in town, and these are some of my students as a member of that program. So they're here.
Oh, they're his students. Oh, that's so cool.
They're just simply to observe. So pay no mind or attention to them. With that, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Sean.
Yes. All right, let's stand and bring in our panel.
Brian Boone testifies next, and he's going to say the exact same thing that we've heard in the police interview and in the body cam, but here it is for those of you guys who have not seen it yet. However, I guess I'll mention this at the very end of his testimony, because there's something that he didn't bring up, or a couple things actually that I thought was important.
When you say you dated her for quite a while, how long are we talking?
I met her in the late 90s, and I believe it was around 2005 when we got married.
Did you have any children as a result of your marriage with the defendant?
Yes, we had one son.
And how old is that son?
He is currently getting ready to turn 14.
Wow.
When was it that you separated and began proceedings for divorce?
Probably 2017, I'm thinking maybe. She was supposed to have him on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would have him Wednesday, Thursdays, and then we'd alternate Friday through Sundays every other week.
So 1 week you would have 5 days with your son, and another week she would have 5 days with him.
Correct.
And was this still the same custody arrangement in February of 2020?
Yes.
On the late evening of February 23rd, 2020?
On that evening?
Yes.
Well, apparently Sarah called me at one point during the night.
Do you recall about what time she called you?
I think it was 11 something.
When you answered the phone, how did Sarah sound on the phone?
She sounded like she had been drinking, was pretty drunk.
Were you able to understand what the defendant was saying?
Somewhat, but she woke me up. I had work the next day. I was asleep when she called. She's done this before, calling me late at night, and generally I kind of just try to ignore it, so I wasn't...
Wait, do you think she called Brian Boone while George was in the suitcase?
Really paying attention.
Did you pay much attention to this phone call?
No.
Now, the following morning, on February 24th,
so sick.
2020, did you begin to call the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And approximately what time did you begin to call the defendant?
I think it was like 11 o'clock or something.
And why was it that you were calling her?
Well, it was going to be Monday. I had him on Sunday and dropped him off at school, and I was calling to try to find out if she was going to be actually picking him up that day.
Why would you have a question about whether or not she was picking him up?
She wasn't generally very good about actually getting him on the day she was supposed to.
So it was not uncommon for you to have to remind her to pick him up or to make sure that she was going to pick him up?
Well, I mean, remind or just find out if she was going to, or if she was just going to give him over to me as what happened.
And when you actually got in touch with her, what did she tell you on the phone?
That George was dead, and if I would come over.
Did she say what happened to him?
I don't remember if she told me then on the phone or when I got there, but she told me they had been playing hide and seek and that she fell asleep.
What did you advise her to do?
I told her she needed to call 911 and that I would come over as soon as I could.
And when you spoke with her while you were en route, what, if anything, did you advise her?
I told her she needed to call 911 and told her I was on my way, but she needed to get somebody over there.
When you arrived at her apartment, tell us what she told you when you arrived.
I mean, George was dead, and once again, I don't remember if she told me now or before that they had been playing hide and seek and she fell asleep, but I at that time told her again she needed to get 911 called to get somebody over there.
Had she called 911 at this point?
No, she had not.
Nope.
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911.
Yes.
Did you go inside of her apartment?
I walked in the front door into the little tiled area, like entranceway thing.
What, if anything, did you observe when you made it to that point?
Looking into the living room, I could see like the end of his feet and maybe a little bit of some legs that were kind of coming out around the backside of the kitchen area.
Did you continue to go into the apartment?
No.
Hell no.
Where did you go?
He's too smart.
Sarah told me she was going to call 911 and go outside and have a cigarette and a drink and asked me to come out there with her. And I told her that I didn't really feel comfortable being inside. And I went out front and got in my car and waited for people to show up.
The defense, they decide to not do a cross-examination of him right away. They want to question him when they present their side of the story. However, I noticed Brian Boone didn't bring up Sarah Boone's past abuse that he mentioned with the police interview. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably because they're not allowed to bring past behaviors about Sarah Boone at this moment yet. It needs to come out in a different way. So I don't think Brian Boone can go up there and start talking about her. You know, when I used to be with her, she used to like hit me. She used to be abusive. She used to get drunk all the time. She was an angry drunk. And he also told this that he wouldn't be surprised at the times that George got arrested for DV if Sarah was the one who started it. So that's probably something that they're not allowed to bring in yet. However, when they go for the battered spouse defense, I'm pretty sure that the state will be able to cross-examine Brian Boone then, and then maybe ask about his history with Sarah in regards to whether or not Sarah has been violent towards her. Because I think I remember now in the Amber Heard case, they weren't able to talk about Amber Heard's ex, Tasha, with the airport incident right away. It wasn't until I think they accidentally opened the door to that, where they were finally able to bring the airport incident and then get other witnesses to testify about that. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I don't. Let me know if I didn't remember correctly. They play the 911 call. For those of you guys who already listened to it, just skip through to the next chapter. And for those of you guys who haven't listened to it yet, here's a 911 call. It is bad. It's bad. Do you hear a woman there that's crying, sympathetic, sad? Nope. Not to me. Lack of sympathy, a lot of lack of sympathy there.
It's 300 minutes. Call on Monday, February 24th, 2020.
911, what is the location of the emergency? 4748 Brent Court, apartment 3. 4748, what's the street name? Brant, F-R-A-N-T-Z. And the appointment number? 3. Is this a police or medical? My boyfriend is dead.
Okay.
Okay, send a line for the flight appointment. Do not hang up.
Lacking emotion, sounds callous. Hi, Jane. Welcome.
Location, Reggie. That's good. No, please don't leave. 4748 France Lane, apartment 3. France Court. France Court.
Oh,
Yes.
she's saying Brian Boone not to leave.
Mackenzie Drive? I don't know where that is. It's Gilwood Park Apartment.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, correct. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a case and we were playing. And like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Okay, what's your apartment number?
3.
Apartment 3?
Yeah, it's like he had like blood coming out of his mouth, and I don't know, like he had like an aneurysm on what happened.
Right, okay, all right, okay. Listen, we're getting number 13.
Not an aneurysm.
Okay,
Now?
okay, 40, yeah, man, this is, we're on our way up there. You're at 407-716-8684. Okay, you hanging from somewhere or what, man?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase. I tried giving him CPR.
Okay.
I think that's the partial truth right there. I put him in the suitcase. I don't think George got in the suitcase.
So, he was in a suitcase?
Yes, and I fell asleep.
Okay, how old is he working now? 42-year-old man. All right. Okay, we're setting up on the sheriff's station out there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, listen to me. Okay, that you need to confirm this one. No, right, I understand. You need to confirm this. Is he awake at all? Is he conscious at all?
No, he's purple.
Is he breathing?
No.
All right. I need you to get him on the floor, flat his back for me, okay?
I did. I tried giving him CPR.
All right.
I tried giving him CPR.
Yeah, okay,
No, nothing happened. He's purple.
Okay, listen, me, there's a definition of the bill. I need you to get it for me, okay?
What is it?
Is he available?
No.
All right, are you right by him now?
I'm sorry?
Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, listen, okay, ma'am, listen, so listen, is he cold and stiff?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he's not necessarily cold, but he's stiff. And
Right, okay. All right, listen to me. Listen, I want you to lay him flat his back for me on the floor.
I did.
Removing the pillows, okay?
Yes, I did.
All right, okay. Wait.
Stiff and purple.
Right, okay, listen. Okay, man, that's fine. We're still going to put compression to him, okay? All right? Take the heel of your hand on his breastbone, right in center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Yes.
Put your hands up on that hand.
Ready, I'm telling you. Just like that, I can tell.
Okay.
Please, okay, your girdle.
Okay. Listen to me. All right, I want you to place the heel of your hand. Okay, right between his chest, right between his breastbones. Put your other hand up on that hand.
Yes.
We want to pump his chest to be hard and fast. Going to do it twice per second.
I'm doing it again.
Okay, no, just keep on pumping. That's all you need to do for me. Keep on pumping his chest for me. I don't need you to stop and talk or anything. I just want you to count out loud for me, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is nice to me.
Okay, man, just keep on
doing
pumping his chest. That's all you need to do for me, okay?
Yes. Come on, please, hurry up.
Okay, ma'am, they're driving here as fast as they can. Okay, don't stop to say hurry up. Just keep on pumping and counting.
I'm still doing it while I'm talking to you, okay?
Okay.
Still doing it.
All second count with you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Please hurry.
Okay, man, they're getting there as fast as they can, okay?
He's stiff and he's purple.
Okay. Begin pumping his chest for me, ma'am.
I'm still doing it, okay? Still doing it. Just don't make me come.
Right, okay, that's fine. Just, you did a good job. Just keep on doing it for me. That's, all right, they're getting there as fast as they can, along with the sheriff's office also, okay?
Please.
Keep on pumping, man. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep on pumping for me, man.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Believe me, I'm doing it, okay? We're playing hide and seek.
All right, I understand.
She sounds annoyed. Inconvenience. She sounds so unsympathetic.
Please hurry.
Right, okay.
Horrible. This is horrific. What happened? Like, what happened?
Okay, man, keep on pumping the chest for me, okay? They're in the parking lot. They should be up there shortly, okay?
She's so embarrassing.
I'm still doing it, okay?
All right, okay, good. And you found them in a suitcase, you said?
Yes. We were playing hide and seek last night. I fell asleep. I think they're here.
Right, just keep on pumping the chest until they take over, okay?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Okay.
Open. Come in. Is it not coming out?
Let that take over for you, okay?
When was the last time anybody saw him? The last time. We were playing hide and seek. He hit the kitchen. Okay. Unfortunately, he's been down too long to the kitchen. Hello, ma'am.
And so we're there, obviously.
Yes, no, my boyfriend. Is your boyfriend? Okay. Does he have any medical? No, not that. Hello?
Hey, man, this time I'm going to take care of you, okay? Yeah, so we'll see you there.
All right. Oh, ma'am, is still there? Hello?
That's a nice officer.
Contact 407-716-8684, reference to mobile 1308.
Oh, we're probably hearing from her side of the story.
Automatic voice message system 4.
Our next witness is going to be Abraham Moreno, who was the maintenance supervisor at the apartment where Sarah Boone and George lived. He sort of knew George. I think George and him are from Philly. And while he was living there with his wife, George was like a neighborhood kid that he like knew of. Now, this is what he claims Sarah Boone told him when he was there with all the police there, that she came up to him and she told him what happened. This is what he said.
I believe she was already sitting outside at that time.
And when she was sitting outside of her unit, what, if anything, did you observe about her and about the unit?
The police was there. Her ex-husband was present. She was sitting outside, and that's when she decided she wanted to talk to me and the managers.
And what did she tell you?
that she's confused. She's not exactly sure what happened. She pointed out that she recalls that they were playing a game of hide and seek. There was an instance where she was going to teach him a lesson, and then she just doesn't recall anything else until the next morning.
Did she say she fell asleep?
Yes, she did.
Did she say things got out of hand?
I don't really recall that part, but I do recall her stating that they were playing their game and that George went into a suitcase, and I didn't ask any questions. I just let her talk for herself.
How long was this conversation?
For about 4 or 5 minutes.
However, in cross-examination, I think what the defense is trying to get at is that, oh, is this the first time that you're mentioning that Sarah Boone said that she was trying to teach him a lesson? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this. Remember, she changed her story from being an accident to, oh, it was self-defense. However, Owens tried saying that, like, oh, she lied to the police because she was afraid of getting in trouble. Well, why would you lie to someone who wasn't the police, right? Seems like maybe at that point she was trying to still lie, but not really tell him the truth. So you're scared of telling the cops, okay, fine, fair, sure, maybe, whatever. But, you know, you told him the same story as before. Wouldn't you just be like, oh my God, like George was coming after me. I was like in fear for my life. I don't know. Maybe not.
Standing right next to me would have been Melissa Sexton and Eugene Harris, as well as the officer who was in front of the door.
Okay. So there was a law enforcement officer there that day, is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
She had told me they were playing hide and seek. They had drank. She was trying to teach him a lesson, and that was that. She went upstairs. She went to sleep. She woke up. She doesn't know what happened.
Okay. So that was on the 24th?
Yes.
All right. On the 26th, were you not interviewed by law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. So
I may have my days wrong, but it all happened on the same day.
Okay. All right. The 24th, do you remember 2 days later that a Detective Scott Lowen conducted an interview with you at 4704 Lucier Court, Winter Park, Florida? You remember that interview?
Yes.
So that was 2 days later, is that correct?
I would assume so.
Yes. All right. So when he interviewed you 2 days later, did you tell him about this statement that Ms. Boone made to you that you just told this jury in court?
I did mention it to him.
You did mention it to him?
I mentioned to them that we did have a conversation.
Did you tell him the content of the conversation?
I may not have told him the whole content, but I did tell him we had a conversation.
All right. Well, what did you tell him? What content did you tell him on the 26th?
That they were playing hide and seek, that she was confused, she doesn't know what happened. I do believe I did mention to him the fact that she was trying to teach him a lesson. Not that anything was done with malice. I didn't say that at all.
Okay. So it's your recollection now today that on the 26th, you told Officer Lowen what you just told this jury. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Sir. In preparing for this case, did you have a meeting with the Assistant State Attorney on September 23rd of 2024?
Did I have a meeting?
Yes.
A brief chit-chat over the phone.
A brief chit-chat that was over the phone?
Yes, sir.
All right. At that point in time over the phone, did you tell him that Sarah Boone, the defendant, stated that she was teaching him a lesson and things got out of hand and that she fell asleep?
Yes.
Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Okay.
I think this is the motion that the state filed when they wanted to have a new witness. I think this is the guy to go against the battered spouse defense and what Sarah Boone claimed happened.
And that was in 2024 of September the 23rd of this year, 2024. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you telling us that back on February the 26th of 2020, you told Officer Lowen at that time the same thing?
As I recall, yes.
You testified that you knew both Mr. Torres and Ms. Boone, is that correct?
Yes.
You actually knew George Torres from a different time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
When did you first know George Torres?
In the 1990s.
In the 1990s?
He was a teenager, and he lived down the street from me and my wife.
So you had a previous relationship with Mr. Torres?
No, not at all.
Not at all. You just knew him from then?
Yes, as I stated, he was a teenager, and I was an adult.
During this time, though, that you became reacquainted with him, did y'all establish a friendship at that time here in Orlando?
He looks young.
I wouldn't say a friendship, but an acquaintance, yes.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect examination?
Just brief.
All right, thank you.
Back in the 90s, when you had previously known George Torres, in this case, where were you living at that time?
I lived across the street. I lived on one block. He lived the next block over down in the middle.
In what city?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
We are going through the witness so quickly, so we're now on witness number 8, who is Deputy Kayla Rodriguez. If you guys remember her from the body cam footage, her body cam was what went viral. Now, she was very patient. She was trying to, help Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone was like, I want my cigarettes. I want my Dr. Pepper. Oh my God. And then Deputy Rodriguez was like, okay, calm down. Like, you can't go inside, but let me see if I can find you some cigarettes. Maybe I could find you something to drink, some water or something like that. Now, the body cam footage is what we've already seen. However, there is a portion where they go inside the house, and there's a really, really sad moment where there's a dog there that's like right by George. And the dog is just trying to check up on its owner and just standing right next to George. And it's like super sad to see that. So if you guys want to watch the body cam again, I will leave it in here. And then I just want to let you guys know that there's a sad moment, where the dog's right there with George, and you see George over there. So just FYI on that. And I think that's about it with Deputy Kayla Rodriguez. They mainly just watch her body cam footage. And if you don't want to watch that, just skip on to the next one. I have the chapters down below.
Kayla Rodriguez, Kayla, Kayla, Rodriguez, Rodriguez.
All right, thank you.
Hello there. Hi. You live here? Yes. Okay, I'll talk to you. We gotta get some information. I know. That's the property manager. I don't know if I should go tell him really quick, or so he knows what's going on. Where is he at? And you want that in? Oh, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that for you, okay? I had a cigarette little. Okay, wait 1 second, okay? I really need something to drink. Okay, well, I got my Dr. Pepper on the counter. Okay, okay, you 1 second. Put the time. What you called it? Yeah, whatever. Is that the time you called it? Okay, perfect. 20, go ahead. 707 at 1307. Can't go back inside. What's going on? Who is he to you? Boyfriend? Yes, because for like 3.5 years. What happened? He and I, we drank last night. Can you pass this to the around to the FBI stuff? They need to sign that, sure. Yeah, with me. Okay, now you have okay. No. Each of them has to, because this might be a real thing. So each of them has to put their name. Normally we always, I just put everybody. Yeah, you call report. What's going on? I just got here to fill me in. No problem. Like, we're putting a puzzle together. We can do some artwork together. You were putting a puzzle together? Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there. Okay. We've been doing art, trying to take stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase, okay? Who is this guy? That's my ex-husband, my former husband. He lived here with you guys? No. I told him over here. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. So then he came over here. Here, let's talk inside, okay? I called you guys. I tried to figure out. The problem is I fell asleep. When did you do CPR? This morning. When I found it before you called. Yeah. 1 o'clock right now. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. That's when I found him, and I took him out, and I tried doing CPR, and then I called him, and then I called you guys. Did he be here before the fire department got here? Who? Your husband? Or your ex-husband? Okay. Where'd you live at? Right on the street. Okay. So you were planning Who did some of it? I did, but then he fell asleep. Okay, stop. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Some kid or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or what? What kind of medical condition did he have? None that I know of. Nothing that you know of. None that I know of. No. Okay. All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine. Okay. Doing puzzle artwork. Then we decided to go hide and seek. That's all that happened. Okay. So I was never honest. I go in there, but I don't know what happened. So how long were you doing CPR on him prior to calling 911? You tried that all morning? Yes. Okay. And then I called him while I was in CPR. What time did you start probably giving me a rough ballpark? Here, let me fill this back in, okay? Please, may I have my Dr. Pepper? I am still cutting out right now. Ma'am, and you can't talk to him until we get down with paper, okay? Just don't leave, okay, Brian? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you. I know. Do me a favor. Stand over there by that car. Give me 1 second. There's a dog in there? Yeah. You want to help clear the back bedrooms real quick? Just make sure there's nobody else in here? Is he here by himself? Nope, he was here with the girlfriend, and that's the girlfriend's ex-husband. He was going to see her. They were playing hide and go. This is what she said. She's been doing CPR on him all morning before calling us. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and start making phone calls. Okay, go ahead. What do I do with this dog? Because I don't want him to mess with him. Come here. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yes. Okay. Here, come on, let's go outside. Come on. Good boy. What's up, Kitty? You think about it, I'm sure it's empty, but I just want to make sure. I'll put my door on. Touch anything.
Orange County.
Sheriff's office. Put it over here. Let me check this closet. So garage. That's garage.
I guess we're going to have to set up a crime scene now. What's that? Sheriff 20, Sheriff Charlotte, Sheriff 26.
Just give us a second, okay? It's on the camera. I can't move it. You can come out of the house. Here, I want you to sit down because I don't want you passing out. This is probably a lot for you to deal with, right? Water. I can get you some water, okay? Just I want you not on your feet because I don't want you passing out. I need to find water. Okay, I'll get some for you. You're trying to try it, but not.
Your Honor, request permission to publish States 5.
You may proceed.
Let's go ahead and start making the calls. Now, could you go ahead and give me his last name, Torres? Spell it for me. Torres. And his first name? George, Jorge. Jorge. J. O-R-G-E. His birthday? 2/13/78. And this is the boyfriend? Yes. How long? 3.5 years. Living together that whole time? Yes. Okay. And your last name? Boone. Spell it. Boone. First name? Sarah. Sarah. Birth date? 10/10/77. So, you kind of say to kind of collect yourself. Tell it to me again. You guys were playing last night, drinking a bottle of wine. Putting pencils together, doing artwork. Puzzles, artwork. Had a bottle of wine, and they decided to play hide and seek. So, what time was that? Do you remember? I mean, I know that I was in bed probably by, like, what, 12:30? Okay. Well, I went upstairs at least, and I fell asleep. Okay. Forgetting that he was in the suitcase. Playing the hide and go. Yes. And at some point you put him in the suitcase? No, he got in the suitcase. So he thought it'd be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to joke with you and I'll dip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. But then I fell asleep. I fell asleep. Where was the suitcase? Right where it is. Right down there? Yes. You zipped him in there? Yes. Thought it would be funny a little bit? It was. We both were laughing about it. Okay. And then I fell asleep. Where did you fall asleep at? Upstairs. In your bedroom? Yes. Okay. Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase still. Okay. And then you came back downstairs? This morning, or this afternoon, yes, when I got up. What time? 12:30-ish. I was awake, but I totally forgot that he was in the suitcase. He can tell you there's a lot of things that I/Leah think of. Jobs. Yeah, he did tell me. Right, all that good stuff. So I just totally forgot. You began to do CPR on him? Yes. Yes. About what time this morning did you start doing that CPR? No, it was the afternoon. It was afternoon because I was awake. But then I finally decided to come downstairs at like 12:30-ish, whatever it is. And I was like, I forgot he was in the suitcase. And he wasn't moving. Nothing was happening. So I unzipped him, took him out and started doing CPR on him. He was on his way over here. I called you when he got here. Once he got here, you called us? Yes. Okay. And air was coming out and he was gurgling, but I could just tell by looking at him. But you knew how to do CPR, you were doing that on your own? Yes. Okay. And then the person that was on the phone with me also, I counted with him doing it. And he's got no medical? He doesn't take any medication? I don't know. I don't know medical-wise. I know he doesn't take any medications whatsoever. Okay. The only thing, like I said, I don't know if alcohol had to do with it, but we had a bottle of wine. Okay. All right. Here, I want you to sit back down because I don't want you. Can I have one more sip of water? Yes. Go on. Denver, 29, residential, audible, 130, we got a day drive. I'll do what I can to get you a cup because I don't want you to have to keep doing that. Motor unit on the channel. The cups are right there. Right here. Don't talk to the ex-husband right now. I won't. Can I have a cigarette, please? Ma'am, I can't take anything out of the house. It's on the back porch. Nope, all of it. Secure, okay? I'll try my best to get you what you need, okay? Maybe one of these days you'll have a pack from someone, sit down and I'll try and get you what you need, okay? Just a cup, please. Okay. I don't want you on your sleeves. Yes, you put him out. He came back in? He's right here. So there's no fence then? Corporal asked me to give you a rundown? She's sitting on the curb at the she's down. I was getting ready to call you guys. You want the cameras? Yeah. Want to talk over here?
Your Honor, request permission to publish State 6.
You may do so.
So we got to see footage of them going inside the house. Crazy. bad attitude. They probably just didn't want to be there.
Hey, Sarah. You get enough water? No, if you want to stay seated, I don't want you getting lightheaded. So remember I said the detectives were going to come out and talk to you and go from there. You understand? They're here. They're going to ask you a few questions and then go from there, okay? All right.
All right, Sarah, my name is Chelsea. My partner, Scott. It's my understanding you reside here? Okay. Is it just you, okay. Your former husband, okay. But you reside here with George, and then your son lives with you, or lives, there's 50-50? Yeah. Okay. So from what has told me, she explained last night that you guys were drinking a bottle of wine, and around midnight, you decided, you guys, okay. You guys decided to play hide and seek.
Well, we were playing hide and seek, and then...
Was your son home at the time, or? Okay.
No, with mine. With Brian.
Okay.
Started to play, we just did it like that. Like, we were putting puzzles together, we were doing artwork. You can see the puzzle that we finished in there, and then the artwork, and then decided to play hide and seek. The game's stupid.
Okay.
So he decided to get in the suitcase. So I thought it would be funny too, and he was laughing about it too, to get them up in there. I go upstairs and fell asleep. So this morning when I was down here, I actually got up out of the bed. I thought sure he was downstairs on the laptop, really quiet. But then I came upstairs and I'm like, where is he? Like, and that's when I found it.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. And then you weren't sure about if you woke up this morning?
It was afternoon. I mean, I was awake,
this afternoon,
but I just didn't want to come downstairs. So I laid in bed for a little while, and then I eventually came downstairs, knew about where he was, and then I was like, oh my God, he's in the suitcase still. So I pulled him out, and I ripped him out, and I started to try to do CPR at once. I told you guys. So I told Brian, okay. And then as soon as he got here, which is 30 seconds on the road, I told you guys. Okay. The person on the phone had me do the concussion.
It was so bad. I went back and rewinded it when the dog was next to George. So sad.
What happened? So you guys shut up.
Okay. And so as part of our investigation, we obviously have to go inside the house. We have to look at things. Are you okay with us going in the house and looking at things? Okay. And forensics, so we have to have our forensics crime scene investigators come out. Are you also okay with them coming inside, taking photographs and? Okay. Okay.
Can I ask, is Brian, George, was he diagnosed with any kind of medical history?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't take drugs. I mean, we'll have you take one more warning here and there, but I don't know. Like,
that would be my next question. So you guys don't normally drink? You just drink once in a while, or?
Well, I'm gonna say like, okay, I guess normal drinking is like we will have like a glass of wine or two, like when we're at dinner, or church, here, and we'll say a board game with him. We'll be from there. But it's not like.
A couple of beers a day.
I don't understand though, like, for the little bit that we had, like, not hiding it. Like, I don't know if they had a heart attack or a stroke or anything. Or what happened to them. I don't know.
So were you guys together all day yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Here?
Yes.
Like, neither of you left the apartment yesterday?
I drove up to the store to get cigarettes.
Okay.
But I mean, you could walk there.
Does he have any history of I know he doesn't now. He just said he doesn't. But
I don't know.
As far as you've ever known him, you've never seen him?
No. I mean, he's from Philadelphia, and he grew up in Philadelphia, and then he went to Massachusetts, and then from Massachusetts he came down here. So I don't really know, like, a whole lot of, like, medical history or
How long have you guys been together?
Almost 4 years, like 3.5 years.
You guys been living here the whole time?
Yes.
He's never been to the doctor or to the hospital during that time?
He and his brother got into a really bad argument at one point. He had facial reconstruction, but he has been in the hospital from that. And then I talked him into going to see like a regular physician so he could get just like a regular like checkup thing. Yeah. But there were no red flags.
How long ago was that?
The surgery or the doctor? Both. The surgery I think was at this point what 2 years maybe, 2.5 years. The checkup was probably a good 2 years too.
Okay. And the suitcase is still in there?
Yep, always.
Is it normally stored down there, or did you guys travel recently?
No, he was going to start picking from the donation in there, so that's why it's out. Yeah.
Okay, you guys didn't recently travel somewhere or anything like that?
After you zipped them up, did you move the bag around and ask them at all, or you just zipped it up and walked away and asked them?
We were laughing about it, but I went upstairs and I fell asleep.
What a liar.
What position was he in when you went in? Was he sitting on his rear end and his head up, and he just kind of
okay, so like this is the suitcase. Right, this is his head, and then his feet right here, and his feet were down.
So he was laying on his side?
Yes. Yes.
You just closed the flap and zipped it around?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew we were playing.
Understand this? Okay.
So he said that I needed to tell you guys about his family. Like, who do I talk to about that?
We're gonna do that once we walk through and see. Yeah, we're gonna.
I'm just telling you, like,
this is gonna be.
I'm afraid for my life. I want you to know that. I'm afraid for my life. His family has never, like, I'm the blue-eyed white devil, is what they call me. So they've never liked me. They've never taken me in. They've never accepted me. I'll put it that way.
Have you called any of them?
We talked to his daughters yesterday.
No, I mean, like, about this.
No.
Okay. So no one's gonna know until we will be making that notification. So
they're going to kill me.
Okay.
Do they live local?
Yes, they're down the road. They're going to kill me. His kids are going to kill me in Philadelphia. They're going to kill me. This was not intentional.
Okay.
They're not going to understand that. They're not going to accept it.
We're gonna do a thorough investigation. We will definitely make sure that you don't feel scared when we leave. Okay?
And my 9-year-old.
Well, he's at school and he's with your husband.
I know. Well,
ex-husband.
Your husband said that, or your ex-husband said he made arrangements for your 9-year-old to be picked up.
Oh, okay, Mom. Okay.
All right, we're going to go aside if that's okay.
Yes, please, but can you guys keep me posted so I know what's going on?
Yes, ma'am.
And don't.
All you have to do is get their attention if you have a question you need to talk to us. He's standing right there, she'll be right here.
Yeah, okay, but will you guys tell me, like, so you're telling me, like, you won't call whoever it is without telling me, right? I mean, I have their phone.
We're not calling. We're not making phone calls. We're actually going to speak to them in person.
Yeah.
We
That'll
are.
be later on.
Okay.
It'll be later.
Prior to us making any
I'm
calls.
not going to be here. They're going to kill me.
Okay.
We'll address all of that, okay, before we leave. Okay?
This was.
Okay? Okay.
Witness number 9, we have Deputy John Martinez, who also we are going to watch his body cam footage. I don't think we've ever seen his angle, his body cam footage on the internet before. I don't think so. I don't think there was much in the body cam footage. Honestly, I think you could skip it, especially if you've seen the other body cam footage. The thing that I did pick up was Sarah Boone said she has 2 brothers. One was in the Marines and then one is in jail. So I don't think we've seen this body cam before. Oh, sorry. I think you can ask leading questions. Sorry, not the foundation thing. I had it mixed up.
for that because we're not. So what's gonna happen? We're gonna go to the manager's office and they'll have what's called an autopsy. Yeah. That'll be first thing tomorrow morning. I'll know a lot, hopefully a lot more tomorrow morning as far as him. But I cannot, there's no way I could say how, why. So just by looking at him, like, why is he purple? That's normal when someone passes away, but then it needs to turn.
This is the hard spot to be in the first cell.
I feel like she's asking dumb questions to make it seem like she's actually interested in George's condition when you can tell she doesn't give a fuck all about it. Why is he purple? I don't know, Sarah. What do you think?
I'm like really scared. I want you guys to know that.
You have all these deputies here, so if I leave here, nothing's going to happen. Before we go and make any notifications, you'll have plenty of time to leave or do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do, okay? And we can talk about that more in the summer, right? Yeah, you.
But like, I don't, like, this was totally, like, not intentional. Like, that's what I'm scared about too, like.
We'll have all the answers. We'll have a lot more answers tomorrow and have a budget. Like you said, what you're seeing here is common. This is us coming out to the scene. Yeah, his age, no real medical history that
I know of.
For him to have passed away, we come out.
I know. Yeah.
We come out and do an investigation. Medical examiner's office, we send people out. This is what we do.
Pay attention, y'all. Do y'all see bruises on her? Cuts, scrapes, swelling, anything? It's hard to see, but we could see her arms. We could see her legs. We could see her neck. We could see her face.
If he was 75 years old and had a heart condition, we wouldn't be here.
I don't know what it is.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to find out. We're just here to get the answers. The answers that you want, the answers that his family
I just
want.
really want to see my son. I really need to see my son. I mean, I know I can't go anywhere, but. Right. So do I just like sit out here and wait for you guys?
Yeah, you would, yes, please.
Does anybody else have you to show up or everybody's here that needs to be here?
My team's here that needs to be here. The medical examiners will show up when we call them, but we're not ready for them yet. So they're going to take him, they're going to take the photos, take him, but that's sort of the end of it. And they'll be called well in advance when we're ready for them, but we're not ready for them at this point. So we won't be calling them quite yet. Okay? So like I said, I got to go do some paperwork. They're going to chat with some people, and then we're going to come back and talk to you if you're okay with that. So just give us a little bit more time, like I said, and you go and do that.
So, like, do you guys tell his family, like, today or after tomorrow?
You have to. Unsigned investigation is pretty much complete here. Once we leave here, we will be going to.
But again, we'll know. You're not going to just go and do it without you knowing. You'll know. We'll talk to you prior to doing anything like that.
But how, I mean, I understand what you guys and how you do it, and, you know, so, but, like, what are you just telling us? What do you tell his parents? Like, what's the reason as to why?
We tell them what we know at that point.
Yeah.
We tell them the truth.
And that we're going to be waiting for the autopsy results, and I will get the autopsy in the morning, and hopefully the doctor will be able to give me some of what they think and see.
Give them their number, they can contact them and get it, you know.
But yeah, they're gonna know what we're here, what we're investigating, and that
they're gonna think I killed him.
Why would they?
They always have said that. They've always have said that. I told you it's because I'm the blue-eyed white dragon. That's what they call me. Because they don't want him with me. So he's basically just not really been around his family because he chooses me over them. Even after I encouraged him numerous times to go there and see his family. They never accepted me. Everybody especially his sister. He had to pull her off me one time.
Do you have somewhere safe that you can go tonight?
Both my parents are deceased, my grandparents are deceased, and my aunt and uncle are deceased. I got nobody. I have a brother
I think she said she has a brother that's in the Marine and the other one that's in jail.
Well, he's in Altamont, but I think he's doing whatever Marine he's doing. But the only way... Your phone's inside, correct? Yeah. Does he have a phone? No. He does not. He used my phone. He uses your phone. Yeah, the sheriff phone. So, the only place I could go is over to Brian's house. So, I don't think he'll have a problem with it. So, well, like I said, we're not going to leave here. If you do not feel safe, you're not going to leave here if you're not feeling safe. And then we're like, and then so I'm in Philadelphia. Well, she's in Philadelphia because there's going to be a funeral, right? Is that what you're talking, like days and no, I'm talking right here, right now. So let me get my notification. Let me go do this paperwork that I'm talking about because we can go back and forth about what ifs like all day long. I know. So I promise we're not going to leave here for you and you not feel safe. Okay? Please. I don't even know what to tell you. It's okay. Just take a seat, have some water, give us a few minutes, let us do everything, and we'll be back to talk to you, I promise, okay?
Let them know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Go ahead and take.
Okay.
You have anyone in there?
There's nobody here, just me.
Okay, that's fine. You're right there, right?
Yeah.
Sit there and take your fine. I have relief coming, so just give me.
Melissa Roughgarden, she is part of the crime scene unit, and she's going to talk about how she saw George was laying on the floor. By the way, George was laying on the floor like straight like this. He wasn't in a fetal position or anything like that. It seems like Sarah Boone was able to stretch him out on the floor fully. She's going to go through pictures that she took of the place. I guess I will show the ones that I thought were more relevant, I guess. We're going to see pictures of the house, the upstairs, the location of the two bedrooms that are up there. One bedroom is Sarah Boone's son's bedroom, it seems, and then the other one is the bedroom of Sarah Boone and George's. We get to see the actual suitcase. Now, notice on the suitcase zipper, there's no pull on there. No pull on there. She said that she actually struggled to open the suitcase. Now, the thing that we've actually never found out until today was that in the suitcase, as you can see, Mr. Cacciatore has a picture of the suitcase, and we're like, wait a second. Is there shit in the suitcase? If you look in there, you could see that there was actually stuff in the suitcase. There's other clothes that are in there, papers and pieces of stuff. It's not just George in the suitcase by himself. There was other shit in there that was stuffed in with him. You also notice that there was blood inside the suitcase. Not only that, was there blood there? I think they said there was blood on the white cap. There was a necktie, blood all over the interior. And to me, I'm like, okay, so maybe Sarah Boone hit him with the bat. He was bleeding. She put him in the suitcase. Maybe she thought about disposing his body, but then she realized he was still alive. So maybe she wanted to torment him further. She was really fucking drunk. Probably wasn't in a state to dispose of a body. I don't know. That's like another theory that I also have as well. Like maybe this, maybe that. We're trying to entertain a bunch of different things, right? We're not part of the jury, so we're allowed to do that. She took buccal swabs from Sarah Boone, took pictures of Sarah Boone, pictures of her hands, her body. Didn't notice any injuries. You know, you would think someone who's fighting for their life in self-defense, if you're going to kill someone, you would have injuries, bruises, scraps, and, you know, whatever on you.
Did she ever indicate to you that she had any injuries?
No. However, unless someone was coming after you with a weapon, if they were coming after you with like a knife, a sword, they're coming after you with some batons, I don't know what else is there, a gun, and they're coming at you and you think you're about to die, then yeah, then maybe at that point, if you shot them back or something with a gun, then you wouldn't have any scraps and bruises on you, right? However, this wasn't the type of death that George had. George didn't have a gunshot wound. That's not how he died. He was in a suitcase. You would think that there was a bunch of like, you know, scraps and bruises on Sarah Boone. They got in a fight and then she had to resort to putting him in a suitcase and she tried to defend herself, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, that's not even her story, right? Her story was like she put in the suitcase and saw the fingers coming out and she was in fear of her life. That's what she said. For reference, y'all, Woodbridge wine is like really cheap wine. And some of you guys were like, oh my God, that's like so cheap. 1.5 liter for like $9. It's like really cheap wine. That's like the, when I first turned 21, that was like our wine den. Get that Woodbridge. Get the bang for your buck. We used to drink, what's it called? Sutter wine? It's like table wine they use for cooking. Oh no, Rossi. The Rossi wine. Let me take a look it up. Rossi wine. Oh yeah, Carlo Rossi. This is what we used to drink. I'm pretty sure that's cooking wine.
Did you also have occasion to collect the baseball bat from the living room?
Yes, I did.
I mean, Trader Joe's had pretty decent box wine.
Now, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as states B. Can you take a look at this item?
But we don't do box wine anymore. That activates our inner alcoholism because you just endlessly drink it and you don't know how much you're drinking. There's like 3 bottles in a box wine.
Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do. This is the wooden baseball bat I collected from the living room.
Does this item have your name on it? What is contained within states B?
The wooden baseball bat.
And is that bat in the same or substantially the same condition as it was at the time that you collected it on February 24, 2020?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states B into evidence. Can you open the inside of it?
There you go. There's your conversion. I'm sorry, Americans are so fucking difficult. I hope I converted it correctly. And if you're curious what the dimensions of the suitcase is, for us Americans, it's 28 inches by 20 inches by 8 7/8 of an inch. For non-Americans, which is most of you guys out there, we're going to convert it to centimeters to make it easier for you. And I hope I converted it right. If I didn't, go after Google. 71.12 centimeters by 50.8 centimeters by 22 centimeters deep. That is the dimensions of the suitcase. Jesus. Here is the cross-examination. The cross-examination was done by Mr. Beck. Mr. Beck, we rarely hear from him. This is the 3rd attorney. Usually it's Mr. Owens mainly, and then we hear Mr. Henderson, new attorney coming in. Mr. Beck came in and did the cross-examination, and I think he did a pretty good job. Here are parts of the cross-examination, and I think in the video I'll explain why I thought he did a pretty good job. Now, for you guys who are listening, you know, I know a lot of people like to be like, oh, defense attorneys, you guys asking stupid questions, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? They ask questions like this because they want to make it so the person who's testifying on the stand might not look as smart as they're trying to portray them to be. I'm not saying the person isn't smart, but sometimes when you ask people tricky questions on the stand or you ask them that's out of their purview, it makes it seem like they're not knowledgeable. But it could just be because that's not within their zone. You know, they don't know anything about that. So let me know what you guys think about the cross-examination, and then, listen to the redirect as well. All right.
Who made the decision not to bother to do a DNA analysis on the blood from the items within the suitcase or the suitcase itself?
That was a discussion between the detective and I.
And you chose not to do that?
No, we did not.
You assumed that the blood inside the suitcase belonged to George Torres, correct?
There was blood observed in the suitcase.
But you don't know who that belonged to because you didn't bother to analyze it or have it analyzed, correct?
The blood was not tested.
There we go.
Now, State's Exhibit B, the bat, you took that into evidence. Was that, again, a collaborative decision by yourself and the lead detective?
Yes.
And
I don't know why they didn't just do it.
What efforts did you make to have the bat analyzed, given the fact that it was apparently evidence?
It was just collected as evidence from the scene.
Did you advise either the lead detective or anybody else involved with this investigation that there may be matters that could be analyzed when analyzing the bat that would help or assist in the investigation of this matter?
It's my job to do the documentation and the collection of evidence.
Well, you said it was a collaborative effort between yourself and the lead detective, so did you participate in that decision?
We chose to collect the bat and put it into evidence.
And so there was a fiber analysis done on the bat to determine whether
Oh, is the defense going to try to say, well, I did tell you guys that I originally got into the suitcase. So how do you know it's not my blood? Maybe it's my blood on the bat. Oh, no. I don't know why they didn't test it. I mean, I feel like you would just test it just to cover your bases, even though you know that it was probably George because George is bleeding. George was in the suitcase. He was found there. But remember, he was found laying splayed out of the suitcase. It's Sarah who said he was in the suitcase. But still, I feel like you would still want to check just in case, just to make sure.
or not it was used to strike George Torres when he was in the suitcase. Was there not?
Pardon?
In fact, there was not, was there? There was no effort to analyze the bat.
I'm going to object. I don't believe the witness had an opportunity to answer the question.
Sustained.
She had no cuts. So it would have been like,
Can you repeat the question?
blood out of my
If I
mouth.
can remember it, I will. Do you know that there was any effort made in this particular investigation, the investigation of Sarah Boone, to analyze the bat for fibers?
No, there was not.
And why was that not done?
It was not done.
You indicated that you had some interaction with Ms. Boone, is that correct?
I collected her buccal swabs.
Did you speak with her?
In collecting her buckle swabs, yes.
Did you speak to any other witnesses?
No.
Did you make any determination of other matters that might be of import or evidentiary value when you were going through the house and taking photographs and documenting the interior of the townhouse?
You'll have to be more specific.
Well, how many pictures of the child's bedroom did we see?
Here today,
Yes, ma'am.
we saw the entrance to the bedroom as well as a photograph of the interior of the bedroom.
What was the evidentiary value of that?
It's my job to photograph and document while on scene, so the rooms in the upstairs were photographed and documented.
Did you photograph holes in the wall, possibly made by the victim?
I don't recall photographing holes in the wall, no.
Did you take photographs of items within the house or throughout the house that may have depicted incidents of prior violence?
You'll have to be more specific.
How about bloody pillowcases? Did you make any effort to collect and analyze pillowcases of the rooms that you were photographing?
No.
You have significant experience with zippers?
I use zippers regularly, yes.
What a question.
Enough to have an opinion as to whether or not a zipper is stuck or not.
Is what? Sorry?
You testified on direct that the zipper was a little tight.
Just that it was difficult without the zipper pulls to use the zipper.
And that was your opinion.
Yes, from opening the suitcase here today.
A redirect examination.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, you documented the entirety of the house as you saw it.
Yes.
So every room in the house,
They were all taken overall photographs.
walls in the house.
In the overall photographs, yes. They weren't all individually photographed, no.
And you did not document or note any type of holes in the wall or any type of damage to the walls, anything like that.
Not the walls, no.
Is that something that would have been documented both photographically and also within your report?
Yes.
You also, as we've previously seen in the composite, saw the victim where he was laying in this case, correct?
Yes.
Was the victim, did he have blood on his mouth and on his face?
Yes, he did.
Did he have open wounds on his body?
There was blood coming from his nose and his mouth. There was also some other areas of defects noted on his body.
You also made contact with the defendant too, as well.
Yes.
Did you note any other wounds or cuts or anything else that was not documented that you haven't testified to?
No.
So no wounds, nothing on her?
Not that I recall, no.
You all may be seated. Thank you. State, anything else we need to discuss? Defense. All right, thank you all very much. We will see you at 9 a.m. Monday, October 21. We're off the record.
Really? Nothing? Defense? Nothing on your end? Oh, I see Mr. Owens. Okay, talking to Mr. Cacciatore there. I don't know what they're talking about. Cacciatore's like this. Owens is like this. Cacciatore's like, yep. Owens is like, I don't know what's over here. Jay, Mr. Cacciatore, hope you guys have a good weekend. Beck Henderson, even you, Mr. Owens, hope you have a good weekend. Bailiff, Judge Cranick especially. Boone, no. Maybe you'll get UTI. Jury, be good, behave. You don't think you would recognize Cranick around town? I want to see what Cranick looks like in normal clothes. Can we get a statement of particulars before we go and head for the weekend? I want that damn statement of particulars. Because you know what? I don't know how Sarah Boone killed George. I have no idea how she killed George. I need a statement of particulars. Oh, Mr. Billy Lane. Hi, Billy Lane. That's the PI dude. Oh, hell, not the foot fungus. She might spread it to the rest of the people staying at her jailhouse. Not the foot fungus. So I'm speculating here. Monday, probably medical examiner, probably Detective Kepsel, Detective Lowen, probably watch the interrogation video, probably watch the 2-minute video, the 20-second video. Not malicious, not intentional. If I had to make a t-shirt out of this trial, it would be 45 days. 45 days. Yeah, I think the defense did okay. I mean, there's been a lot of hiccups in pretrial bullshit, but I think James Owens did okay in his opening statement. No issues with that. And, you know, cross-examinations have been fine so far. They skipped a lot of crosses, but I think it's okay so far. They're saving the cell phone for last. Yeah, maybe they'll do that. Sometimes they do save the lead detective for last to sum everything up. Oh, there's probably going to be the apartment complex manager. We didn't call her yet. You will have Drunky Bear parachuting in. Yeah, they could bring the witnesses back. There's also a rebuttal as well, so. Look at Boone. Every time she leaves the courtroom, it's always like looking down, smiling, like, ooh, I'm getting out of here. She about to be free in 2 to 3 weeks, she thinks. All right, what should we do? Should we recap it? Should we recap the second half of the... Well, I guess I could do one recap, but the first half, I'll be less detailed. All right, day 1, Sarah Boone trial. Started off with some hearing stuff, issues with the state's opening, the defense's opening. Well, we got that all cleared away. All good now. State, defense did their opening statements. We got to hear from... What do we got to hear from? He did his opening statement. All the way back here. Mr. Owens did his opening statement all the way over here. We got to hear from Juan Torres. This is George's brother. And then we got to hear from this guy, used to be a neighbor of Sarah Boone's, said he heard a loud crashing noise from where the staircase would be in Sarah Boone's apartment. Heard arguing between Sarah and George. This is also another neighbor who was the former guy's roommate. Same thing, heard arguments, heard a loud crash. Did I miss someone? Oh, this guy. Oh, he worked at Publix. Worked at Publix where Sarah Boone, George got the giant mega pint of wine. I think there's a 911 dispatcher. Oh, here she is. She over here, looking fabulous. This is a 911 lady. But she wasn't the dispatcher, actually. She was just like part of the call center. I don't know if they're going to have the 911 dispatcher guy testify. Probably not, because she's already there. After our long lunch break, we got to hear from Mr. Brian Boone, who told us what happened the night before. He got one call from Sarah. He didn't pick up, assumed that she was drunk. The next morning, he detailed everything that happened. Never mentioned the abuse between Sarah Boone and him that he mentioned in the police interview. So I don't know if that's going to come out later on, but they didn't ask him about that. Then we heard from the maintenance guy at the building where they lived at. Apparently, Sarah Boone talked to him the day that George was found. This is when the cops were there. Everyone was there. And Sarah Boone said something about teaching George a lesson. It was a game of hide and go seek. She didn't know how it happened. She fell asleep, blah, blah, blah. Then we had Miss Deputy Kayla Rodriguez come back. She was the one with the body cam where it went viral. In the body cam, we were able to see the entirety of the footage. You could see George in the apartment. So they watched the body cam footage. Jury's probably like, oh my God, this person's is so unbearable. Next, here's another deputy who responded to the scene. Got to watch his body cam footage from a different angle as well. But I think we only saw his body cam when the detectives arrived. And then we went through... Actually, I'm just going to go through my folders because I took a picture of what I thought was... important. Let's see. Sort by date. She'll look worried real soon. I don't know. Boone's a weird one. This is when they were going inside the apartment. This is the picture of the staircase, which I think it's really weird because if George was thrown down the staircase, if he fell down the staircase, you would be coming into all the stuff here. You would crash into all this shit here. So did all the shit fall off the shelf and then she reorganized it or what? Because the place looks pretty clean and tidy, doesn't it? Doesn't it look kind of clean? Looks very clean, looks very tidy. I'm trying to see if I see any like artworks and puzzles and stuff like that. I don't really see anything, but their place looks pretty nice. Looks pretty decent. I don't know why, but there was a picture that I saw of their place, and I could have sworn there was like shit on the carpet. Like the carpet was all nasty, and there was like cigarette burns or something like that. This looks so different than what I saw. I know, so sad if the dog goes. Here are the bottle of wines with the Publix receipt. They are large bottles of wines. Here they are in the trash. Sarah Boone's cell phone next to this little area thing. Entrance to their place. Inside their place with the police officer. Here's a suitcase. Trying to show that there's no pull on the zipper. No pull on the zipper. That's their place. Again, no pull on the zipper. This is where we saw a picture of the suitcase, and it looks like it had shit in it. So George wasn't in the suitcase by himself. There was clothes and just random shit in there. There was like a needle that was in there. There was a bloody cap and a bloody, what did she say? It was like a bloody cap and a bloody something else. Presumably from George getting hit in the head and maybe other places, and he bled. They also said blood was coming out of his mouth. Or no, sorry, Sarah said blood was coming out of his mouth, right? I think she was the one who said that. More shit that was in the suitcase. The suitcase being emptied out. Here's the baseball bat. This is like the entryway to the son's room. I don't see damage on the walls inside the son's room. I think this is Sarah Boone's room. Is that a My Little Pony? The fuck is that? Yo, that looks so creepy. This is Sarah Boone, where you don't see any... I mean, it's hard to see, but everyone said that there are no injuries or anything on Sarah Boone. Oops. Oh, God. Sarah Boone's hands. Hey, Germany Rose. Ben went work all day. Yes, they did opening arguments, and then we had about 6, 7 witnesses testified. Here are the wine bottles to show the jury. There's a baseball bat. Here's a suitcase. We don't really have a great angle of it, but that's a suitcase right there that George was in. Keep in mind, he wasn't in there by himself. There was shit in there. There was clothes in there. There's papers in there. Yeah, Boone trying to play the victim. You know she is. You know she's trying to play the victim. So I think they estimated that the trial would be 2 weeks long. They said 3 weeks since, jury selection would take a while. So I think it's going to be 2 weeks long. The state is moving pretty quickly. I appreciate that. We'll see what happens with defense. Hopefully there are no issues. Hopefully it's like a smooth operation. But you never know with trials. Sometimes trials, they add another week or 2 or 3 because things that were initially not to be introduced will be introduced later on because of some shit that happens. But 2 weeks, and maybe we'll be done by November 1st, and then jury deliberation. I don't know. That's me being really hopeful, right? Her video will hang her. Yeah, she's so screwed. She's so screwed. All right, y'all. Well, I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your Friday, okay? We're going to be ending the stream here. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will post a edited version of today's trial on the YouTube channel. Usually it's a little bit more concise and precise, and we get to the point. So I'll try to work on that. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys have a good one. Join the Discord if you guys like. We have a true crime section. I moved vlogs to the other channel. Check it out if you guys want to. You just got here. If I didn't have to edit, Toby, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 10 chronos. Is that right? Chronos? Thank you, Toby. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much for the super chats. I appreciate all of y'all. Thanks, Corgi. See ya, Richie. But I will see you guys on Monday morning, 9 a.m., 6 a.m. my time. I'm going to try to adjust my sleep schedule. That way it'll be more natural waking up at 5 fucking a.m. I tried waking up at 4:45 a.m. today. I woke up and I just laid there. I was just like, oh God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. But I hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't think about this shit, okay? Enjoy your weekend. Go outside. Have some fresh air. Go play some video games. Hang out with your doggos, kids, whatever it is.